As a musician, as an artist, if you want to get anywhere, you need to be relatable to people. If you're yourself, but you have easily relatable identity, then being yourself works. What happens for people like us? What does being myself mean? I was just like, stuff it. I'm actually going to literally say,
just know if you don't relate to me, I don't relate to you neither.
Can I write something in this very uncommon time signature that still has a groove, still highly technical, and shows that like I have command over rhythm? The sound of it was very grandiose and very look at me, I'm here. Like
it almost feels like a journey.
That's why it was ordered how it is ordered. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
You're spot on. It was just very dark. And I'm like, okay, there were a few incidents that happened that I just addressed in the song. Our struggles in the different ways that blackness appears, they're all linked.
Cryptography. This one's the one that make you bounce, eh?
Yes.
What physiology means is the study of how living organisms function, because it's not just about love. Love is part of a functioning relationship.
Celestials was existential. You're sitting down, you're looking at the stars. What happens when you die, your memory being lost? What did you actually live for? What are the things that are important? I guess I've been kidding myself this whole time that I could sort of shimmy into this culture of hip hop undetected. Not too long ago, I had been diagnosed with ADHD. When I start talking about the Kendrick and Drake, all the real hip hop heads, we supported Kendrick. And I was like, oh man, I think I'm Drake. So then I had this struggle of being like, wait, do I not like Drake because Drake is me and I actually just don't like myself? I'm writing this track as me being like, I'm done. Something happened at the very end. These big names are seeing me and seeing my music. You're not on their radar. I'm on their radar because of this route that I took, especially in New Zealand. We're at a huge disadvantage, dude. Big artists that pop off with these hit songs. The smart ones are immediately thinking of their exit strategy. So I ended up crying on air, which is crazy. This sucks. My life sucks. Like I can't run around with my daughter like my clothes are not fitting anymore. Like I need to change my life, dude. Imagine if Harvard reached out to me, yo, come speak here. And me being like, nah, I'm not a rap teacher. Why on earth would I ever do that? So yeah, I don't have a plan. The next song I put out could be the thing that changes my life.
Welcome to the Melting Muse podcast. Melting art and design, entrepreneurship, music, fashion, film, sports, gaming, and whatever's in between. We exist to showcase extraordinary people to inspire the next generation of creatives and leaders. My guest today is Mazbou Q, father, professor, producer and musician also known as the Rap Scientist. We talked about the creative process of his latest album, Rap Science. We discussed the problem with being relatable, the music industry and how to expand horizons beyond music, and a lot more. If you love music, this episode is for you. Mazbou Q, welcome to Melting podcast. How you doing, my bro?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, brother.
Brother, so happy that you're here. Thank you so much for coming through.
No problem.
So much to talk about with you today because I've been blasting this Rap Science album for the last 2 weeks, like hard out.
Nice.
Hard out. And man, what an album that was. Like that's such an amazing piece of work. And I want to talk to you about the whole thing. But first of all, congratulations for that piece of work. I know it's a lot of work putting that together. How you feel after a couple of... Was it a month maybe out?
Yeah, but just over a month. Yeah, man, it's been good. Like that project is about 18 months of work and it started not even intending to be an album. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of, putting out a few songs. Actually, the story behind that album, we might as well get into that. So as you know, like I'm known as the Rap Scientist on social media or the new professor. And then the whole thing is, doing rap and music theory and bringing those two worlds together. And the reason this kind of rap science album came about is because my brand was evolving as this rap teacher, and a lot of people like yourself, like you mentioned before, didn't realize that I made my own music. You know what I'm saying? But the whole thing, this whole social media content strategy was to promote my music. It kind of evolved into its own thing. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of people knew me as a rap scientist. They didn't know that I made music. So I'm like, okay, how can I bring all this new audience over to hear me out, to hear where my actual heart is? You know what I'm saying? So one of the ideas I had was like, okay, people appreciate me showing them these rap techniques and these rhythm concepts. I should just use my own music to do that. So I started making music and writing rap with very sort of technical rhythm features in it for the purpose of using that music to teach on social media.
Right.
So that was my way of bringing those two brands together. So the first song off the album that I wrote was Polymers. That's the second track of the album, but it was the first one that I wrote. Came out last year. And that was one where I went heavy on the like polymeter and, all that kind of stuff, hence the name. And then, I used that particular section of that song in a piece of content that went viral.
Yeah.
And so that song, got a few eyes on it. And so I kept basically doing that throughout the year, like month by month, just releasing a new track with a new rhythmic concept on it. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, oh, I might as well just make this an album. You know, the songs got more and more personal and more story-like as it went along. Because it became less about me writing this technical rap thing and more about me actually, you know, bringing myself into it.
Yeah. No, definitely. You can see I was going to ask you about that. So first, if you see, I go here on my notes. In the second track, I literally put a lecture because that's sort of what it feels like. Like if we go through the tracks, we'll get through every single one of them. But it sort of felt like the first track was like setting the mood for the entire album.
Yeah.
But then the first track is like, okay, here's a lecture. Here's a bunch of concepts in one track.
Yeah.
That I'm gonna exactly. It's like a presentation almost.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, that the first track on the album, ALLOCHTOON, was the last track I wrote.
Bro, I thought about that. I thought you wanted like, you basically did the whole thing because you felt like the different concepts in the album, as lyrically speaking, in terms of content, sort of started to evolve across the track.
Yes, yeah.
And then the last track, it was almost like a statement to start the thing, right? Like when you write a book and then you put, that's what it felt.
At the end. Yeah, exactly. That's basically it.
Right. Bro, talk to me about like, because obviously the polymers, it was like a almost like a pilot, right? You know, let me see if I can bring people over. So it worked, right?
Yes.
As far as making it an album, like when do you actually decided that? Was it right after that, or maybe a couple of tracks after?
I think it was maybe 2 or 3 tracks in where like I'd release the track. I'd have like at the time the single artwork. Right. They had specific themes to them, like colored themes and symbols and stuff. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm making this something that is like a series. Yeah. At some point in the future, I might as well just put this out as a collection. So you know, I started unifying like the names. You know, like everything is capitalized with a full stop, and it's like some scientific term.
That's right.
So it was kind of like it was always leading to be that thing.
Right. Yeah. And what about in terms of the content of the lyrics? Because that thing is very interesting to me as far as your songwriting. Yes. And like I was talking to you before, identify a little bit about it because, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like as far as, for example, some of the political stuff that you write, it's almost as if you leave crumbs of your political thoughts across the entire album. Yeah. And it's not like you make a political song. Yes. It's like, it's almost like each song
each song has put a little bit in there. Yeah,
it's like you put a little bit of thought on this, based on this. This is about my life. This is what I think about this. This is what I think about that.
Yeah, that was a very a very intentional thing. So my music used to be very a lot more overt in its political nature, a lot more on the nose. And you know, this is a song about this political thing. And I felt like, you know, it's still important to do that, but at the same time, like it's quite heavy to consume. You know what I'm saying? Like, all you're listening to, you know, people eventually are like, oh man, you know, stop. Or like I agree with it, but I'm tired. Like
it's a moment for that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm listening to this to, you know, to sort of unwind, you know, and you're winding me up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to construct this music in a way that for people who are leaning in and trying to hear that stuff, they can get it. But for those who perhaps, you know, it's not their time to be in that space, like they don't have to have it, you know, thrown at them. So yeah, I like you say, it'll be like a line here or like a hint here or like a double entendre or something, you know.
Bro, in terms of putting the album together, like you like you said, it was like a series almost for social media, for content, and then sort of started evolving into an album. Where were you emotionally at that point? Because I feel like it's important to talk about that, because even though you put it as a series, right? Like it's still like there's a lot of things that go into it, even making the beats. And we talked about the first track, which I think we're going to start after this, talking about that particularly. But where were you emotionally?
Man.
And
all over the place. So like, you could probably tell that, interestingly enough, the lyrics get a bit more cynical as you go along. Like they start off very like confidence flexy. Like you've got POLYMERS and PHOTONICS and CRYPTOGRAPhy near the start where I'm like, this is my thing, you know, look at me, I'm the best. And then towards the end you get like cloning and talk and astrogeology where I'm like kind of like, oh man, like, you know, cloning, I'm like, man, I'm doing too many things. Talk, I'm like, is this career even for me? Astrogeology is like, effort, I should just throw the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? So I do, the journey I was going through last year was one of me, figuring out these two brands going together, seeing some traction. But then realizing, oh, hey, it's not, the trajectory isn't linear. Like I was thinking, okay, polymers is the first step. Everything else is
exactly.
There,
but it's not like
but
that.
it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And so then I was, I did go through a time where I was like, maybe this thing, maybe it ain't working for me. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And that was a tough thing to grapple with. There was a bunch of existential stuff behind that because I had a corporate job from 2011 to 2017 that I left to do music full time. And I didn't have a backup plan. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I feel like it's my purpose to do this. And so getting to a point where I'm like, hey, maybe this music thing ain't working. Heavy existential problem for me. Because then I'm like, well, what is my purpose then?
Yeah.
And the only way I could wrestle with that was the only way I knew how, which was through music. So that's how those songs, started coming through. Especially Talk. Talk was the big one.
Yeah.
Where it was actually the first song on the album where I was like, I don't care what goes in this thing rap technique wise. I'm not trying to do any crazy rhythmic thing or polymeter or syncopation. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just speaking about how tough this is right now.
Yeah.
And ironically, that's one of the tracks that hit a lot of people. You know
that's one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks, and I liked because you can see that it was like a track where you just let it all out, and you didn't worry about sort of the agenda of the track being rap science and all these different rhythms, and all the other track go crazy flows and beats, and that. This was just like
just talk,
just talk, exactly, just like. Put a beat on, and the beat is also amazing. Dude.
Yeah,
like,
the beat's cool.
Beat is really cool.
So big credit to my boy Chinon Soso. That song actually samples his song, which is called.
I was gonna ask
Home,
about the sample.
Yeah. And I actually produced that song for him, so it was really cool to put together. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it's really like when he put that song out, or when he started working on that song, I love the melody. I love the chords in it. And it was actually one of the songs that I'd sing to my daughter when she was younger to go to bed. So it was a real special song for me. And the song, his message was like, basically, there's nowhere like home. And that was like a crazy tension for me because, as you probably know, in that song Talk, I'm like, what is home?
Yeah,
I don't know what home is. So being able to write those kind of lyrics and then at the end finish with basically the English translation of his chorus. It was a really special moment, and so I'm glad it's hit with a lot of people. Yeah,
no, dude, 100%. And I love the way that you ended that as well. By the way, I love the Habuka part. I was like, let's go. But you actually, there's part where you speak, this was cynical, whatever, and then you say, let me sing this chorus, and bro, you can sing some hooks there.
Thanks, bro.
I didn't know you could you did it greatly in Celestials as well, but there's I think there was a lot of showing of your skills. Yeah, no, 100%. All right, I have a bunch of questions that kind of touch around the way the mosaic of the album, but I want to start talking about the tracks.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so let's talk with start with number one. Can you pronounce that word?
ALLOCHTOON, I think.
ALLOCHTOON.
ALLOCHTOON, yeah.
Which I found that is a geological formation that didn't form in. So actually, if you type that word for whatever reason, New Zealand North Island shows up. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Because some rock formations move from one way to the other.
Somewhere else, yeah.
Anyway, but that track is my favorite track of the whole album for a couple of reasons. One, you already know, I told you.
Yeah.
It has the metal part in it. It's got the metal part in it. But the beat, bro, the beat has this arpeggio at the beginning. It sounds like Enter Shikari.
Yes,
for me.
Yep.
And then of course the first line just sort of sets everything up.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of topics there that were very relatable. Talk to me about putting this track together because, and I want to ask you this because when I used to make music, right, one of the funniest things was that a track like this is one of those that probably didn't take us long to make.
That's true. Yep.
Right?
Yeah. That's definitely true. Yeah. So, man, basically the grounding of that track was me. Actually, let me provide the context of it. So the context, obviously, I had written that whole album. There were tracks that did relatively well, tracks that didn't do so well, and I was wrestling with this thing of being like, okay, because I know as a musician, as an artist, if you want to get anywhere, you need to be relatable to people. Now, that thing of relatability, there are a lot of commentators out there that make it seem like it's at its core very simple. You just be yourself. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're yourself, but you are very locked in, easily identifiable, easily relatable identity, then being yourself works. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
you know, if you are, for example, take someone like Kendrick Lamar. He's from Compton. He's from LA. He's from California. He's this rap dude. Being himself means there are some very easily identifiable circles that are immediately going to resonate with what he's saying and what he's doing.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So being himself makes sense. What happens for people like us? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know
what happens for someone like me who's like born in UK, Nigerian heritage, grew up in New Zealand? A lot of people don't even know where New Zealand is. Come on. So off the bat, you know, trying to appeal to an international audience that doesn't even know where your country is, right? And then even within your country, people don't even know where you're from. You know, when I came here, people didn't even know what a Nigerian was.
Yeah, that's right.
I've got this interesting intersection of identities that doesn't make sense to me, let alone other people, right? So what does being myself mean?
Yeah.
And when I'm myself, who's that going to relate to? It's not going to relate. So a lot of my career and my music journey has been this interesting tension of being like, yo, being myself doesn't work. Right. I need to try and be someone else. But then I go through ebbs of flow and be like, no, I need to be more myself. Oh, I need to be more like this. People will listen to my music. They'll be like, yeah, but you need to be more relatable. I'm like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So coming to ALLOCHTOON, I was just like, you know, stuff it. I'm literally going to make a song that is so me, and I'm actually going to literally say, I don't care if you relate to this because this is who I am. That's the opening line. Just know if you don't relate to me, I don't relate to you neither. Like, I don't, man. Like, and so every element of that track, from its sonic element to its lyricism, you know, how you told me, like, you heard the Enter Shikari style riff. So all that kind of like progressive, metalcore, emo kind of sound to it. And then you got the gent breakdown in there. Yeah, that's the world I came from. A lot of people who are in hip hop don't relate to that world, but it is the world that I relate to. Lyrically, I tell my story of, migrating from the UK, coming to New Zealand, having a kind of pseudo-American accent when I rap, being into rock, being into metal, you know, all these things that are actually me that people don't relate to. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is what you're getting. You know what I'm saying? And I had to come to a place internally where I was like, if it doesn't hit with people, it doesn't hit with people. I can't keep changing myself to try and do that, you know? So that was what that track was. And it was me kind of declaring, it was me kind of owning what I know people are already going to say about my music. I don't relate to it. Okay. I don't relate to you either, to be honest.
Yeah. Bro, and you know what? That is the most interesting part, because it's the most relatable track to people like me,
to
right?
people like you,
yeah. Like it spoke to me like a lot because of all these things that you're saying. When I used to make music, people were like, what is this accent from? Right? Because you came here when you were young, so your English sort of developed into a different accent. But for me, it was like crazy. Like I used to sing in Spanish and then English, and when people were like, "Who's this guy German?" I'm like, "What?"
I know.
You know what I mean? And then so 100% spoke to me. So you know, it's kind of like, that's why I love that track and the entirety of the album so much, because it's the statement at the beginning. It's like, and funny enough, you relate to people. Like there's people like us out there that I used to feel exactly like you do. Yeah. I used to love metal music, love rap music. Yes. I dress like from the hip hop world. Yes. And I would be screaming my ass off on stage. I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's a line there. I was like, dude, actually, for people listening to this, I went through this album with the lyrics on because I wanted to make sure that I go every single line. And there's some bars in there that are like, that one that when you say like, I go with the goths and
and goths and the gangsters.
Yeah. So I go double the blackness. I was like, oh shit, dude. There's some lines in there that are just crazy. Man. I mean, I went through the entire thing. Amazing track. Again, all the bands that you talk about also, Kill Switch Engage, Sounds Like Dying, all those. I was like, bro, this guy is speaking to me right now. So. And the fiasco line is crazy too. I don't know if anybody got the double meaning of the line.
Yeah, a lot of people probably don't get that. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. If you're listening to this, please. And I told my brothers, because my brothers are absolute fanatics of hip hop. They literally study like rappers or whatever. I was like, dude, you gotta listen to this guy because I honestly believe you should be way more recognized than you are.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Because I don't think I think people, again, it's one of those things where we're in a world where there's so much music out there. And I always say this, your favorite artist, you haven't listened to it yet. Yeah,
no, that's true. That's very true.
You know what I mean? So if you're listening to this, give Mazbou a listen, because I think you find a lot of amazing stuff you haven't heard before. So yeah, man, amazing track. Absolutely love it. Relatable. And then we go into Polymers, which we talked about. For me, when I listen to this, I'm like, okay, this is the lecture. This is when you lay your concepts down, when you put a bunch of different rhythms and techniques on really on display on this track. As far as the writing, the content of this particular one, were you connecting particular feelings of flows and rhythms with what you were saying?
With what I was saying? Not really. I think lyrically, I just wanted to say a few interesting things. Yeah, I kind of see it as a freestyle, and it's all summed up in the chorus of the song. A polymer is like a chemical structure. What does that have to do with the lyrics? Absolutely nothing, because I wasn't really thinking. It's not to say I wasn't thinking about trying to craft like intelligent lyrics. I just wasn't trying to tell any particular story. I was just touching on a few things I'm thinking, a few things I feel, but yeah, the main purpose of that song was, let me showcase a few things. So the bed of the beat, the whole thing that is lying on the beat itself, that's the first thing that separates itself from a bunch of other hip hop. Like it's in the time signature of 12/8.
Yeah.
So we call that compound time signature. That's already uncommon. Like a lot of the more the compound stuff that you hear, that's the 6/8 stuff. That's the Spaceships by Kanye. There's a Jesse Reeves and Eminem song. A lot of a lot of people rap over that kind of thing, but not too many people rap on the which is like a bit of Brazilian funk in there. So I'm like, okay, let me create something that first a lot of people don't even rap on. And then once I've got something that a lot of people don't rap on, let me do something flow-wise that you wouldn't even think to do on that, So it's kind of like layers of this thing. And it's kind of me saying, hey, look, there's a distance between you and I when it comes to the skill level. And at the same time, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make these rhythms. One thing that I really appreciate about like Michael Jackson is that his music, even though it was so easy to take hold of and catchy and understandable, it was actually very complex. If you like analyze some of his music, it is very, very complex. But the complexity is hidden. It's like knotted and twisted in the corners. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with Polymers. Like when people hear it, they're like, oh yeah, like I get it. It's like this kind of triplet flow. And I'm like, okay, try do it. And then they're like, oh. So that's what I was trying to do with that song. I was trying to create something that people can listen to. I want to make it listenable, but then have these moments that people are like, what happened there?
Bro, when I realized that as well? When I think you put a post up where you got people to like try to rap on it.
Yeah.
And then you hear the beat and you're like, okay. And you're like, God damn, how do I even lie a bar on this thing? Like, it's actually not as simple as you make it sound.
Oh, yeah. There are a couple of songs like that. So one of the songs was PHOTONICS. So I put that as a beat challenge on TikTok. And another one from the last album, Minding Your Own Business. So those are in, again, PHOTONICS is in 9/8, even rarer in terms of time signatures. You're not going to find a 9/8 song in hip hop. And then Mind Your Business is, Minding Your Own Business is in 3/4, like real 3/4. A lot of people think 6/8 is 3/4. It's not the same. It's in real 3/4. So again, feels intuitive when you listen to it, but then when you actually start to rap on it, that's when you're like, oh, okay, this is, yeah. So yeah, I definitely enjoy doing that kind of thing.
Well, let me ask you this. So did you, of course, I think you mentioned this already, but you basically created the track first. You created the track and then you went, okay, cool. This is the track that will really create this lecture.
Yes.
And then I started writing on it. Walk me through just the process, because we really want to get into your writing process.
Yeah.
Conceptually, in terms of the content, how do you write? Like, do you go, okay, I got this beat, I can do this thing, and then content-wise, like, how do you separate ideas? How do you separate the ideas?
Yeah.
Do you freestyle and then you got this, or do you get a feeling from the beat and then start rapping? Like, how does that work?
It changes song to song.
Okay.
So there are some songs where I'm just trying to get out an emotion, and you can tell those songs. Like Talk is one of those songs.
Yeah.
There are other songs where I hear the beat and I'm like, what comes naturally from this beat? What kind of flows feel like they fit this beat right? And then there are other beats where I'm like, what is the craziest thing I can do on this beat? What is something crazy? Like, so Polymers was the third one. Polymers is like, I've got this beat. What can I do that's crazy on it?
Yeah,
what can I do that? What can I do that's interesting on it?
Yeah.
Whereas there are other tracks on the album that are like, this is more of a natural thing. In terms of where the lyrics come from, similar. Polymers was kind of like, what are some ideas I can throw out there? Whereas there are other songs that are more cohesive, like something like Physiology. It's a song about love.
It's a song,
You know what I'm saying? And it's about love all the way through.
Yeah.
Songs like Cloning.
Yeah.
You know, the theme is very, very
It's
much
very specific.
Yeah. So again, those are songs where I'm like, I'm just trying to talk about this thing. Yeah.
Does it ever happen to you? Because it happens to me where you have like a very clear concept in mind, but then suddenly you start kind of pivoting.
Yeah, all the time. all the time. Because I've got ADHD. I don't know if you do, but that happens, man. Like I'm like, yo, this is gonna be a song about this, and then I start writing. And I was like, whoa, I guess it's not about that now. That happens a lot. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, let's talk about the next track. So that's Photonics. How does this one come together?
Yeah. So Photonics was, again, it was me being like, let me try to do something that I don't think anyone else has done. Again, coming back to the compound time signature thing. So we've talked about 6/8. There are a lot of 6/8. There are a lot of 6/8 tracks out there. 12/8, not as common in hip hop, but still like the way you make me feel. That's a 12/8 song.
Yeah, right.
Really, really popular. So people are familiar with 12/8. 9/8, not popular at all. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a but it's not like, it's an intuitive time signature because everyone can count to 3, but it's 3 main beats subdivided by 3. You don't see that. You see 3 main beats subdivided by 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a boom. That's like a waltz.
Yeah.
Right. But three subdivided into 3. That's very uncommon. And so it was a challenge to myself. I'm like, can I write something in this very uncommon time signature that people can that still has a groove that doesn't upset people, right? In terms of like feels weird or feels unintuitive.
Yeah.
That still has a groove, but is like still highly technical and shows that like I have like a dominance or like a command over rhythm, you know? And yeah, that's kind of what was the foundation of Photonics. At the same time, I was flying to Australia a lot because I think it was I was doing like different conferences and different things over there, and I fly on Qantas, and on Qantas they've got the entertainment system and they've got a lot of HBO shows because I don't have Neon, so I was watching a lot of Succession like every time I flew, and I loved that theme. There was something about that orchestral kind of score. I forgot the composer's name, but I loved it. And so I was like, I'd love to write something like that. I don't want to sample it because it will take a lot to clear it, but I want to write something that has the same energy and same feel as that. So I thought, combining that orchestral idea, the way I would take it away from being too similar to Succession was, put it over 9/8 because Succession is just in 4/4, right? Then it's standard. So putting it in this kind of 9/8 concept, this unconventional time signature, was how I could draw it away from the original and create something that was more mine. Interestingly enough, it's still a lot of people heard it and they're like, is that kind of Succession, right? I'm like, yeah, it's inspired by Succession. It was also inspired by the theme song to Talk to Me, that Australian horror. So two of those,
movie too.
Incredible film. So I was like bringing those together. So it was the desire to create something very unconventional.
Right. Okay. I see.
And then and it's a great challenge for me vocally because I'm like, okay, how am I going to top line this thing?
Yeah.
In a way that people can still potentially sing along to. That comes from just like scatting and just trying a few rhythms and trying a few melodies and things just kind of coalesce and make sense. And the sound of it was very grandiose and very, look at me, I'm here, like this is what I'm doing. So the lyrics like, don't know why I do exactly what I promised, like just being real confident and stuff.
Bro, let me ask you this, because as I'm listening to, I've listened to your music and all your content as well. Do you think your capacity to flow, to understand all these concepts of rhythm come from the diversity of music that you're listening to? Because all these things that I'm listening to, right? Like all the more rhythmic rhythms, right? Like for me also come naturally because I come from South America. So funk,
they're all those,
champeta, all those rhythms come
Afro-Cuban rhythms,
But also went from the metal side.
Yes, you can hear all
the other stuff that you talked about.
Exactly. That's one of the things that so when I've done my lectures at different universities, I spend a bit of time introducing myself. So I say, hey, look, I'm not I haven't gone and studied a degree in this stuff. I did do a bit of music theory in school, but this came from just immersing myself in so many different kinds of music, drawing threads between them. When I hear this gent breakdown, I'm like, oh, it's cool. Or I hear this Meshuggah rhythm, I'm like, okay, that's actually the same as what this rapper's doing.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't
that's
understand
right.
that this kick pattern is just what this rapper's doing.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
this snare thing is just what the saxophone is doing.
Yeah.
So it's just me because, like you say, like the diversity, dude. I was in jazz band. I was in concert band. I was doing I grew up in church. So I was doing like church music. I was in middle. All these different ways of expressing music. I was like, man, these are actually all,
Connected.
they're all very similar.
Yeah, they're very connected.
So I would be in church and I'd do this middle fill-in that made sense, or I'd be in concert band and I'd be doing this thing that I heard in this emo, like, so yeah, like recontextualizing. I love that. You know what I'm saying? Like in school, I was big on composition and arrangement. So arrangement is like taking a piece that's already there and giving it different instruments, maybe giving it different qualities, but you're just arranging the same piece. I love that, dude, because that was my chance to take something and recontextualize it in another style.
Yeah.
That I know and love that has nothing to do with the current style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people think it's this amazing new original thing, which I guess in ways it is, but it's just my brain putting two things together that shouldn't go together,
Yeah, that's right. And I think for people like us, I think is that we are really privileged in terms of the amount of music that we're exposed to.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you agree with me, but like for example, for me, I listen to so much rap music, but in Spanish as well. And we naturally bring a lot of different influences together. So if you listen to a rapper from Colombia, for example, you're gonna hear folk music, you're gonna hear ranchera, you're gonna hear all these things, and so we're very rich in terms of rhythms and sounds.
Yeah.
And that just adds so much to the music. And all I wanted to bring this topic up is because I think a lot of musicians don't go enough of their comfort zone to experience sounds.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think I learned so much from the metal scene, so much from listening to other things, jazz, like you mentioned, even electronic music, whatever. Like all these things really enrich and you can bring elements of things, right? Like I remember when Korn brought like this dubstep. Remember that?
Yeah, man, that was crazy.
Like that was crazy. That's pretty cool. So yeah, man, I think that's you can definitely see that in your music. Like you can grab concepts from this genre and then just put it in here. And suddenly it's like, oh shit, okay, this is very different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of artists, especially if you're multicultural, they bring in. I'm gonna show you. I really want to get your thoughts on a couple of rhythms and from some rap from South America. Because I wanted to ask you about the techniques on some of these raps that I don't even know the names of, but I found like, man, this is really amazing. Anyway, we'll get to that. Next track, this was the track I fell in love with before any of the other tracks. And that's Forensics.
Yes.
The beat was just murder. It's just a crazy, crazy beat. And the flow in it is just crazy as well.
Yeah.
And also some of the topics on this track, politically speaking, I was like, dude, this is super deep.
Yeah.
I even put it on the playlist as well,
Nice.
the Melody Muse playlist. Talk to me about this one. How does this one come together?
So that was when I was in my Brazilian funk phase still. So I'd written Polymers. I was just really obsessed with this boom ba ba boom ba 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 boom ba ba boom ba ba. I like that. So like Polymers was like a compound the 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, but I wanted to write a simple 1 E and a 2 E and a boom ba 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 da da da. That's where the Forensics beat came from. So I was still very much in that kind of way of thinking. So I laid that beat down, and then just the sample that I found and I sort of switched up. It was just very dark, and I'm like, okay, it feels like an aggressive rap track, right? So this felt like home for me because like this brought back like the way I would sort of be a bit spicy with my political stuff. Yeah, so a lot of those. So yeah, I was tackling a few things, a few political things. I was tackling a few personal things as well, like a personal situation back in 2022 where there was this issue where there was some intense discussions around blackness, around the origin of hip hop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, on Twitter and stuff, and like there were a few incidents that happened that I just addressed in the song, you know. So as the first bit of the song, a lot of people's like, I wonder what he's talking about. The folks who it is to will know exactly what I'm speaking about. So yeah, I was addressing that, and then also I spoke about some other things. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about, again, is like the global idea of blackness and how our struggles in the different sort of ways that blackness appears, they're all linked. You know what I'm saying? Like the black people from continental Africa, the black people in America, the black people in the UK, the black people in New Zealand, Australia, like we all have an interlinked struggle. And one of the solutions to that is this ideology called Pan-Africanism, the idea that you know, we should unite, and then you know, in uniting, it's like this push against imperialism and all the kind of forces that, you know, want to keep us trapped in the situation we are. So I expressed a bit of that in that song. I used to speak a lot about that in my music, but you know, I've toned that down a little bit. But I'm still like, that was me hinting to those people who came from that era of my music that, yo, I'm still there with it, you know. So I'm still saying that. So that was in there, and then I took the second verse as a kind of way to you know, I introduced the topic of my neurodiversity. I talked about a lot of the success that's come from the doors opened by this rap science thing. So yeah, it was similar to Polymers in the respect that I'm just going to talk about a few things, but it just has a bit of a more like a darker tone to it, just because the music sort of informed that.
Yeah. Bro, I think this track, for all DJs out there, you can grab this track and make it into like a banger of a clap, because of the, you know, the second part when it goes, can't get anything perfect.
Yeah, I know the one, yeah.
Like, bro, you can put that on a banger of a beat, like, you know what I mean? Like a different clap type beat.
Yes.
And there's a lot of rhythm on this. And when I listen to this track, it goes into waves of, you know, like just moving my head like this to like actually feeling some rhythm on it. But then the content of it is like, the content of the lyrics is like, quite full on. I love this track because of that, because there's so many emotions coming together.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite tracks, and again, like I said, I got a bunch of bars here from that track, and it's quite deep in terms of what you're saying. Yeah. As well. Let me just quickly take this thing off because it's so hot, dude. Have you ever listened to a genre called Champeta?
I feel it rings a bell, but you're gonna have to play it for me, see if I recognize it.
I'll play you something. Yeah. I wanna hear your thoughts on that. Right. For me, that thing is gonna, as soon as some big Latin artist takes that worldwide, it's gonna explode. And that's a rhythm that came out of the north part of Colombia, where like mostly African communities live, and it's such a good rhythm. Like it's amazing, and I'm pretty sure that rhythm. So I want to hear your thoughts on that at some point. All right, then we talk about Salinity. This one is interesting, especially in terms of the topic, like what he talks about. And we talked about this being different. We talked about, I've seen you talking about, and I've talked about it many times in this podcast about tall poppy and just all these things, especially in New Zealand. I love the track. I love this track in terms of that part. Walk me through this. Yeah, so this was an interesting one where like the music very much informed the lyric content of the hook. Okay. And then everything gets so like I was still on the similar to Polymers. That kind of feel. And then the way the beat just came together, it reminded me of being at sea. Like, it was interesting. Someone was like, "Oh, really? Okay." So someone was like, "Oh, this dude just nailed like pirate hip hop or something like that," which was hilarious. But yeah, like kind of accurate, like in terms of like the synth that you hear, that kind of like waves. Yeah. And then the beat got a Pirates of the Caribbean kind of feel to it. And then so I was like, okay. Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't realize that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that's where it came from. So I'm like, okay, what can I extract from this idea of it being like the sea? And I'm like, saltiness, saltiness. And what's the scientific concept aligned with saltiness? Salinity, right? So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So what does saltiness mean? Okay, what does it mean to be salty? I'm like, oh, obviously jealousy, people who are angry, people that are spiteful because of what you're doing. I'm like, okay, that's a very easy topic to write to, so that's where it came. Oh, so it actually came from the sound. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that breakdown. Yeah. And then I just started rapping on that idea. Lyrically, I was trying to keep it more simple because I didn't really care to go too hard out into like any particular topic. I just wanted the flow to be kind of thing. And so that's basically what I did. Right. I love that, dude. I love how you broke that down. That's amazing. Cool. And then we go into cryptography. Yeah. This one's the one that make you bounce, eh? Yes. Yeah. I wanted, basically, I realized at that time that I had no track that felt bouncy in that way. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, so I was like, I needed something that was just
that kind of vibe. And so, yeah, that's just kind of came together from that. But at the same time, I wanted to go crazy in terms of like the different rhythms I was doing. That was definitely like more of a Polymers vibe in terms of just a flurry of different ideas that I'm chucking on there. But yeah, I just wanted to do something interesting rhythmically, interesting flow-wise, but keep it bouncy at the same time.
This is the type of track that, for people listening like me, who usually like to check ad-libs on certain tracks, this is the one, bro. Like, this is the one where you're listening to it and you're checking, you know, your own little ad-libs on it. It's pretty bouncy, pretty cool. PHISIOLOGY, track about love.
Yeah.
I love that because the reason why is let me ask you this: is the position of this track it almost feels like a journey where it's like it starts like this, and then you start to show vulnerability as you come down.
Exactly.
Is that the reason why
that's why it was ordered how it is ordered. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
You're spot on. PHISIOLOGY was actually the second track I wrote from the series, but in terms of where things would fit together, exactly what you said. I was like, okay, I've got a bunch of confidence flexing, a bunch of just interesting rhythmic ideas. Now here I'm going to start to rein it in and things to become more about the heart. And yeah, that was the first one. So that, obviously there's a song about my wife. And a song about it's dedicated to my wife for sure, but it's also dedicated to the idea of long-lasting love. Like a lot of the love songs that you hear, or songs to do with love and affection and lust and that kind of stuff, are about like fleeting, like in this moment, like I love you right now, like we're having this fling right now, or it's sexy right now. But so I was like, oh, I'd like to write a song about what it's like to have this love that's lasted quite a long time, and what it means to love someone for 10 plus years, you know, and how that looks different, how it doesn't always look comfortable, you know. And it's got a few things in there. It's like, yo, we're working through some things, but we're still together, you know. And I think it's just like beautiful to celebrate that, because I feel like that's becoming less and less popular, you know what I'm saying?
100%, dude. And that's why I also love this song as well. And one of the things that I got from this song as well, and I love the name as well, because if you actually look what PHISIOLOGY means, is the study of how living organisms function. To me, that was the sort of the anchor of this song, right? Yeah. Because it's not just about love. Love is part of a functioning relationship. And that's what you're talking about, right? Like, it's not just the moment. It's like real love, it comes from constructing it over the years, right? And going through adversities and things that you're not going to be happy about. But today is not popular at all, because there's so much. As soon as you this is my point of view, but I've seen a lot of people struggling to find, for example, some of my friends trying to find a partner. It's because they don't want to go through all this. They don't want to be dragged through the month of making it function, right? They just, there's so much, they just go into this app and then there's like a million options there.
Yes, yeah.
So, and any sort of struggle is like, okay, I'm out. You know what I mean? And that's why I love this song, because it's about love, but it's about a different part of love.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's quite an interesting way of taking it. Another brilliant, and also the connection with PHISIOLOGY. You gotta love that as well. And then you go into Celestials, which again is like, if you're going down this pattern, and then Celestials is that I think is. The way I saw it, though, is like, this is when it's kind of started to come down.
Yes.
But at the same time, I saw it at, okay, you're now flexing again in terms of your capacity to create these amazing melodies with your voice. Because we know that you can rap, right? Everybody knows you can rap. But I didn't know you can create these sort of very melodic flows and also very melodic hooks.
Right. Yeah. So that was definitely me wanting to explore some more melodic stuff, play around with some auto-tune as well. There are a lot of people who are like quite anti-auto, like either you're a rapper or you're like a whatever you want to call it. I was like, not necessarily. You know, I feel like the thing about being an omni musician, like someone who just does a lot of things, like there's just a freedom to explore whatever you want. Auto-tune's a tool for me. So I'm like, let me see what I can do. So I still want it to be technical. Like, there's still some technical rhythms in there. Yeah. But it's kind of somewhat masked by the melody and masked by...
Walk us through those, because they probably haven't even noticed them.
There's a part where it's like, because I know that most of the dun 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 dun, it feels like it's actually quite a technical rhythm. It's the way it's broken up is quite different to how the beat is broken up, but it still fits. It's kind of like a polymeter.
It's kind of like a polymeter. I see.
But again, like you won't immediately notice that.
No,
like
it's
people
right,
don't go to
okay.
Celestials to be like, oh yeah, this is technical. Again, because I'm trying to mask it. But then if I want to talk about it, I can talk about it. And people are like, oh yeah, that's there. Oh, and again, I need this third verse one. I'm trying to remember.
I can play it if you want.
Yeah.
We can play it.
Yeah.
We can play it for sure.
Yeah, go to around
Like I hoped it would, so I had to. Mama said, don't let me catch
that bit there.
you in the end. Rich
A
and
bit early.
poor can both be. When there will be celestials.
Right, coming up now.
When there will be celestials. Mama said, don't let me catch you flaunting. Just know the great was set and check kings and pawns. Return to the same box in the end. Rich and poor can both be too broke to pay respect.
Okay, so you can pause it now. So there's Mama said, don't let me catch you falling. Just know the great. So that whole passage is 6 beats. That's a 6 beat long passage that I'm repeating, right? But the beat itself repeats in 4. So you've got the 6 over 4.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying? So it feels like it misaligns and aligns again. So again, that's a polymeter thing. But because it's dressed in this melody.
It's stressing the melody. That's why you can't notice it as much. Oh, that's interesting, dude.
Yeah.
I love the the bass on this song. It just hits real hard.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, especially for me, listening to this side of you, because I obviously sort of started listening to you like I never listened to one before you did. Like the stuff you did before. I saw you when I went back to look at your other videos, I noticed your versatility with music. You play some like jazz and all these other rhythms. I'm like, wow, okay. But at that point in time, I was like, I didn't know you could be so diverse in terms of melody.
So yeah, that song was like, as you correctly notified, starting to get vulnerable. So PHISIOLOGY was me being like, okay, this is another side to me. Here's love. Celestials was existential. It was me like, you can imagine like you're sitting down, you're looking at the stars. And like, what do you look at? What do you contemplate? You contemplate your existence. You're like, in that song, I'm talking about, you know, what happens when I die? That's how it opened. Like, what happens when you die and your memory's being lost? What did you actually live for? So what are the things that are important? So that's the real entrance into the whole being more self-reflective and being like, okay, this album's not just about rapping for the sake of rap. And now I'm like, okay, what's up with my life? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? So that was the beginning really of that. And then the rest of the album follows that. Yeah.
So when I remember when I saw the album come out, and of course the rap science title to the album gives you a bit of a expectation of what the album is going to be. Yeah. And I was blown away by the fact that it touches a lot of different things that I wasn't expecting, if you know what I mean. Like it's actually a lot. If you go through the album like I did, you actually find a lot of things. Yeah. Like we talked about this journey sort of thing. Yeah. That's not something that you get from rap science.
Yes, yeah.
So it definitely is one of those things that you discover along the way, which I think is quite cool as well. Yeah. You know, for people that haven't listened to your music fully.
Yeah. The order in which Talk and Cloning was the hardest decision about putting the album together. Actually, I said like the rest of the songs were very easy. I'm like, of course. But when it came to like Talk and Cloning, I'm like, which goes first? Does Talk go first? In terms of the journey of slowly exposing myself, feeling this despair, then getting this resolution at the very end, I'm like, what does it make sense? I felt like it probably could have gone easy either way. But the reason why Talk came after Cloning is because the Talk came after Celestials.
Yeah, that's right.
Celestials, I decided to become existential, contemplating my existence. Why am I here? So in Talk, it makes sense because I'm still very existential. In Talk, I'm more like, okay, man, I don't know if this whole thing is working out. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I tried. You know,
it's almost as if you grasped sort of like a thought from that.
Yes.
From that vision of Celestial, and then you sort of started breaking it down, right? Yeah.
So Talk was very much like, who am I? Like, how do I fit? I don't fit in here. Like, you know, like, I guess I've been kidding myself this whole time that I could sort of shimmy into this culture of hip hop undetected, but noticed for what I want to be noticed for, but not noticed for the things I don't care to be noticed for. You know, I thought I could do that, but it's apparent that it's not the case, because everywhere I go, there's someone being like, hey, yeah, he's from somewhere else. Any of my rap science videos, brother, check them out, man. There's someone being like, is he British? Is he American? Is he Australian? Is he like, where is he from? You know, he's New Zealander. Oh, but he's Nigerian. Oh, but blah, blah, blah. You know? So that was exploring that for me. And I think the crux of that Obviously one of the big things was the neurodiversity. That's what a lot of people are sort of, because that was not too long ago I had been diagnosed with ADHD, right? So that was me like being like, okay, let me talk about this. A lot of people think that's the core of the song, like me wrestling with that part. It's an important part, but for me, the core is actually when I start talking about the Kendrick and Drake beef, because I loved what that did for hip hop. Obviously, like it energized so much of hip hop. You know, a lot of people started, going, yo, I want to be in on this. You know, these two kings of hip hop at the time were going at it, and everyone else was like, being energized and feeling like they wanted to get back in. And I also felt some of that, but then something really stuck with me because for a long time it felt like all the real hip hop heads, we supported Kendrick, obviously, And I was like, for me, I was like, obviously, Kendrick's the one. But then I really sat with Kendrick's songs, and I really sat with how he was positioning himself and how he was positioning Drake. And I was like, oh man, oh no, I think I'm Drake. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm not in terms of like my commercial success, but as in this person who's not supposed to be here, who's trying to be here.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's right. That line said, "I'm not the Kendrick."
I'm not the Kendrick. I'm like,
battle,
damn, yeah. So there was literally a moment. It's like, I don't think I'm Kendrick in this. Like, I'm imagining myself in a battle against someone else, or a battle against fake hip hop, and I'm like, yeah, I'm real. They're fake. And then I'm like, in terms of this dichotomy that Kendrick's setting up, maybe I'm actually a fake one because I'm not Black American. Why do I sound a little bit American when I rap? In terms of the slang I use and the way I, navigate the rhythms and the beats and the flows and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I am legitimately Black in terms of my heritage and my my ethnicity and my race. But what would it look like being authentic to me? I don't really know what that is. So I'm latching on, maybe perhaps it could be arguable I'm latching onto something that's not mine so it can give me a sense of identity. I'm like, yo, that's exactly what Kendrick is accusing Drake of doing. He must be accusing me of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally, that's that part of talk when I was like, damn, I'm actually Kendrick's opponent. I don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to be because I like Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? I don't like Drake. So then I had this struggle of being like, wait, do I not like Drake because Drake is me and I actually just don't like myself? And that's what the crux is of talk. That's me like trying to figure that out. And at the end, I'm kind of like, oh, well. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I didn't resolve it. I didn't resolve it because I can't resolve it. I don't know what the resolution for that is. Again, it comes back to that topic we were talking about at the start. People would say the solution is just be yourself. I don't know what that is, dude. I keep coming back to the accent thing. A lot of people have talked about it. A lot of people just don't think it matters. My perspective on it, I'm not going to talk about whether it's right or not to rap with your own accent. What I'm going to say is that for me, it feels so natural to rap how I'm rapping. Like if you said, hey man, just rap with a New Zealand accent. I've tried to do that before just out of interest. It feels so forced and so unnatural to the point where if I changed and I started doing that, I would feel like I'm not doing, feel like I'd ironically be doing that to please people, right? Which is supposed to be the antithesis of being yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. How I rap now is how I feel natural rapping. And it's rooted in the complex identity I had as a result of being this African New Zealander, this identity that people didn't know what it was at the time. So when I was in school, the only outworkings of Blackness that I saw was on the media, right? Both positive and negative representations. Positive ones were like hip hop. I saw Black people doing hip hop. But then I also saw like stuff like World Vision ads, right? So Africanness was portrayed as poverty, as struggle, perpetual struggle. So obviously, for me, wanting to like be positive, or wanting to feel
to find
like
something,
wanting to feel, like I was like, okay, these guys are kind of like me. And as I kind of learned more about like the history of the world and race and kind of, I was like, okay, there's actually legitimate connection. These people were extracted from my homeland, from West Africa. They are ancestrally, we're connected. So even though there's not some line of direct inheritance there's like, it's kind of like this cousin relationship. Hey, look, you're my cousin. Like I'm gonna kind of like cautiously step into what you guys are doing and participate if you let me. That's kind of where it came from. So when I'm rapping, like I'm rapping how I learned to rap and how I feel authentic rapping. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's where the accent thing comes from. And so that is me being myself. So when people say, hey man, just be yourself, stop trying to be, okay, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. I'm trying. But it just doesn't look like you because you knew what your identity was this whole time. You're from this place. You're people of this people. That's how it's always been. That's straightforward for you. Not the case for me, you know. But then that does create a tension that doesn't get resolved. And that's what talk is about, essentially.
Right. Dude, 100%. So many things connect there, what you just said. A lot of people, for example, in the Latin American community, they grew up in the United States. And now that Latin music is blowing up, then a lot of people from South America, like, they're like, man, you know, like us. Like Selena Gomez and a lot of these guys that they start doing now reggaeton and a couple other things, and they're trying to speak Spanish, and people are like, no, you know what I mean? And I never sort of saw it as, okay, they taking something from us.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like you said, I feel like, look, if you feel a connection with this part of your culture, you're in the right to do that, right? And we talked about Champeta before, right? And I told you, like, there's all these rhythms.
Yeah.
And there's all these things that come from the slaves that came to Colombia. Yeah. And they evolved into other genres, and they grabbing this thing from their ancestral backgrounds, and they mold it into something new, or they identify with it, right? Like the same as the rappers in Colombia or whatever, right? Many of them, man, when you see them speak, the way they dress or whatever, they getting that from there as well, right? Yeah. So if we see them, they're like, oh man, you should be dressing like we dress. It's like, no. It's like they looking at something that they identified with, and they taking it for them, but it doesn't mean they're not them. That's exactly what you're saying, right? Like, it doesn't mean that it's not me. Actually, I'll feel fake if I...
true.
You know what I mean?
True.
Same happens with me, right? Like, in terms of the way I speak English or whatever. Funniest thing, I work as a designer so a lot of corporate work, right? Yeah. A lot of English managers and stuff. Yeah. I say so many words with an English accent. Yeah. That I can't get out of my, you know what I mean? Exactly, yeah. But if somebody hears me speak like that, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why are you speaking like that? But it's one of those things where, man, it's just the way that you grew up with so many different things and so many influences. Yeah. That's who I am. And I like the fact that you're just saying, but just be unapologetically yourself. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Bro, I used to get the same sort of shit.
Like I'm saying, like I literally say at the end of the song Talk, I'm like, people are going to shit on you anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Regardless.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Regardless of what you do.
It doesn't matter what you do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know. And the other element to talk, so yes, it's the obvious play on words like talk and talk, like real talk. But what a lot of people perhaps didn't catch is that the concept of talk. So talk is a force, a turning force. Yeah. So when you are in talk, when you have talk applied to you, you're turning. And so you're like revolving around this thing and you're never going inward. Yeah. Like even though the force is technically inward, you're perpetually on the outward. So it reflects really the real message of it is that. It's like, I feel like I'm on the perimeter. Right. You know, and I'm revolving around it and I'm not in the in of anywhere. You know, that's what talk. That's why I labeled it talk. And that's how I tied it into this rap science idea. Because for a while I was like, how does this work? But the scientific part is that it's like, there's this physical force that's keeping me from, being in. Right. Maybe that's okay,
Yeah, maybe exactly. That's okay. Yeah. That's okay. That's definitely okay. Torque is one of my favorite songs. A lot of cool shit that I found there that I'm like, I told you the Habuken part. Yeah. The simplicity of this song really, really got me. Like it's one of those ones where the beat is just perfect. It's just everything flows and the message behind it is just incredible. All right, next one, dude. This one is one I think I messaged you about this one. Cloning. Yeah. Because this I think this speaks to so many people like us that just do so much shit, right? I have my full-time work and we just want to do many things and we can't fucking delegate. Yes, Delegation is a big thing, right? Yes, and this one, I even play it to my wife sometimes because when she starts saying like, I'm doing too many things, I'm like, man, I do too many things. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a hard thing, right? I really battle with delegation because it's this perpetual battle with, hey, I know people can do it better than I can, but I can't seem to find.
Can't find people.
Can't find the right people.
Or if you can, you can't pay them right now.
True. You know what I'm saying? But it's also letting go.
Yes, that's a big one.
The biggest thing about delegation is letting go. Because,
that's a big one, yeah.
Because somebody can do it.
Yes.
It's just that you're not willing to let it go.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. And one of the things that someone said to me was like, because I'm always like, well, if I find, like, for example, video editing is one of the big ones for me.
Right.
Like, I don't like video editing. I wish I could. Like, in theory, I like the idea, but I don't like actually having to do it.
Yeah.
So someone's like, why don't you get a video editor? It's because, and I always say, well, because like you see the diagrams that I put together, you see the way it's edited and the timing and all that kind of stuff. They need to have an acute awareness of the concepts that I'm trying to teach in order to do this. I might be able to find someone like that. It'll take a long time. They'll probably be very expensive. But the one thing that stuck with me is someone said, you are going to have to be okay with it being 80% of what you want it to be. And I was 100%. Like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
That's the problem, bro.
I can't do that. You know, like I'll see if someone gives me an edit and I'm like, the timing's not quite right, or the diagram, it doesn't perfectly reflect the content. I'm like, nope. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How do you be okay with it? No,
I think, I don't know. Bro, 100%. It happens to me as well.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm a designer, right? So I am fucking anal about the smallest things, right?
Yes,
like, about like that frame not being exactly aligned with that thing, right?
Yeah.
For example, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, man, that frame should be like, because I put it yesterday.
Yeah.
Shout out to Josh, by the way, the painter of that beautiful piece there. Nice. But you know, so there's so many things that I'm super anal about.
Yes.
But what I've learned is that's me. Like like nobody else is gonna notice it.
Right.
And there are little things that for me are super critical, but for the most part, it's okay.
Yeah.
And you just have to let, like, it happened to me again with design. Now I lead a team. So I had to let things go because otherwise you become this sort of micromanager.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
No,
you can't do that. You have to trust people and they're going to fail.
Yes.
So the first thing that you need to learn is that people are going to fuck it up and it's not going to be perfect. And it's going to be painful because you're going to be like, man, this is my brand. This is my thing.
Yes.
But eventually you'll find the value of delegating because you get your time back and you put it into things that matter the most to you. Like, for example, this video editing thing that you said. Bro, I find the same thing with this, even editing this podcast, even producing the podcast, right?
Yeah, man.
People come here and they're like, bro, wait, do you do all of this yourself? I'm like, yeah, I put all the cameras, I do everything. But that's because I also don't know if I trust somebody who will do it exactly how I want it.
Yeah.
So I'm literally battling with this as well.
Yeah, man.
One thing that I think is different is that at work, like I have a responsibility on my work, but it's not like it's a group, right? It's a team.
Yeah.
Versus when it's my personal projects or music or whatever, it's like this thing that you created. It's your baby. So it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But I want to also talk about the beat of this song.
Yeah.
It sounded very like clinical, like it's an experimental thing.
Yeah.
Was that the intention?
Yeah. Also, I was getting into like Jersey Club sounding stuff at the same, like dun 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 dun. I was like, it's a really cool beat. Again, this is my like perpetual desire to always latch onto something and then see if I can recontextualize it. So up until that point, I'm not going to say all, but most of the Jersey Club you're going to hear is like it's like fun club beats. You're having fun. You're like, whatever. Yeah. Like you hear Ice Spice, you hear a bunch of other people just doing, Contrast was doing that stuff at the time. It's just like, you know, you're not rapping about anything of hardcore substance, just having fun as letting go doing. So I'm like, okay, what if I take that beat and then write a really like a substance-full song over it, something that is actually contemplative, right?
Right.
What kind of tension would that create if I, you know, made a beat that's danceable and boom, 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 boom. Then I was like, let me talk to you about this really serious issue. And a lot of people are like, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't. But I want, like, again, that's who I am. I'm going to do something like that. So yeah, that's where that beat came from. I was like, I want a Jersey Club beat. I want a Jersey Club beat, but I don't want a Jersey Club song. You know, I want to talk about something that's and then yeah, at the same time I do want to flex some flows and stuff. But most of that song was me. Yeah, I was like, there was the legitimate grievance of being like, I do so many things and I can't let go of doing them. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those things where it's like, I wish I could have, if my team was just a bunch of copies of me, that'd be perfect because I can trust them. I can trust them to do it. No. You know what I'm saying? And there's this slight flip on the hook. Because I was like, I think the first time I say, so I don't have to be the only one on my team.
Yeah.
And then the last one, so I can be the only one on my team. You know, so it's like, it's this tension of being like, I don't want to have to do it myself, but I want to do it myself. You know, that's our tension. So I'm like, the solution to that is cloning. Unfortunately, a cloning machine doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, yeah, that's the spirit of this song.
Yeah. And it also touches on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it also touches on things that follow outside your field, right? Like you're still a husband, you're still a son, you're still a father, and all these things actually require your full attention. Like you can't half-ass being a father. You can't half-ass being, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think for people like yourself and me, based on what I can get from you, is that there's so many things that come to our head, right? Like we want to do this and we want to do that, and I love music, but I love design, and I love computers, and I love and then you're like, oh man, I could do this. Like you see something online, and you're like, man, I could do that way better.
Yes,
you know. But then you want to do it, and you're like, you can't.
You can't, because it's like, I could, if I could dedicate myself. Like there's so many things that I'm like, if all my time was spent doing this, I'd be so much better than you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be so much better than you doing this, but I can't. You know, it's constant tension. Yeah, I think again, like I don't know if you've looked into ADHD, but it's a classic ADHD,
right?
The classic ADHD thing, dude. Like, yeah, just wanting to spread yourself thin, just because there's so many areas of interest, and then
you talked about ADHD a lot on this album.
Yeah,
just a quick question on that, like, what does that mean for you in terms of acknowledging this condition, and then what can you get from that? Like, what do you? Because there's a line here, that I was like, oh man, this is quite strong. It says, deficit hyper disorder. Hope I didn't give that to my daughter.
Yeah.
That's like it's quite a deep line. Like, and if you analyze your condition, but also your output and what a amazing creative person you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is that sort of tension between the two things? Like, how do you dissect that?
I got my diagnosis last year. I had been like postulating that ADHD was something I had been experiencing for a while.
Right.
Like how it actually came about was that I was thinking about like my niece. And because I saw like some of her behaviors, and I was thinking, oh, I wonder if she's got ADHD. I didn't know too much about it at the time. I was like, oh, I wonder if she might. Okay, so I started looking up ADHD. Every list I looked at, it's like, these are the common symptoms. These are things you might experience. These, like, without fail, every single one, dude. It was not like a list of 10 and like 5 of them apply to me. It's like 10 out of 10 every single time. Me. And I'm like, and then so like I went to my wife and I'm like, hey, do you think I have ADHD? And she's like, what? And then I showed her the stuff and she's like, you have ADHD. So yeah, it's just some of the big things for me. So I'd say ultimately what it did for me, it allowed me to forgive myself, and I don't even want to say forgive. That's not even correct. Have grace with myself and
have empathy with yourself.
Yeah. Especially my it answered so many questions about myself growing up. One of the most poignant memories I have was getting report cards back, especially in primary school, sometimes at intermediate, that said, Hugh, that was my birth name, has a lot of potential, very intelligent, very capable, easily distracted. Every single report card said
same,
that.
Ross.
You know, and like my parents, obviously, you know, they come from a different culture. They don't have the framework for that kind of stuff. They're not really thinking along those lines. So for me, it's just that I'm undisciplined. I'm careless.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So there wasn't any like consciousness to be like, hey, maybe there's something else going on. So for me, I just thought there was something wrong with me, you know? And then so when I would grow up and I knew I was smart. The people I hung around with knew I was smart because I'd always be in the accelerated pathway. I'd always be hanging with people that were the smart people. When it came to the academic results, I'm not saying that I still did well, you know what I'm saying? But I was never with the people that I hung out with. 100%. And it was puzzling for me. It was puzzling for them. They're like, oh, yo, I thought you would have gotten. I'm like, me too. I don't know. I thought you would have got like a full marks. And I'm like, yeah. And I was always wondering, like, especially when I got to university, I'm like, yo, why do I seem to find it so much more difficult to absorb what's coming from the lecture? Why is it that like I don't have I'm not reading at the same speed, although like my ability to understand and teach and communicate concepts higher, if not much higher than them.
That's right.
But there's some disconnect there.
Yeah.
I get my test results back and I look at the marks, and I'm losing all these marks because there's like this one step that I've carelessly not thought about. There's this one spelling mistake. There's this one equation that I've just forgot about, and that's ruined everything else. Careless mistakes. That was one of the big things. Careless mistakes. And I was just like, damn. So when I got the diagnosis, started reading up about it, one of the big things is like the lack of attention to detail because you're easily distracted. You're not, all these menial tasks you're not good at. You don't apply yourself at because they don't give you that dopamine hit that you crave, right? Yeah. That made sense of all of that. And I was like, damn. So it's not that like there was some mysterious thing wrong with me. It's just that my brain functioned differently. And that's why when it came to my peers, I was always off doing all these other things. I was always highly creative. I was always thinking about things outside of the box that they were not thinking about. I was always people like, yo, how do you get all these things done? How do you think about this? How do you know? It's because my brain was like that, and I just didn't have the framework. So when I got the diagnosis, it was me being like, oh man, it was like this huge weight. It didn't mean that any huge change for my life was about to come about. Yes, I did get medicated, and that was like a good experience in a very narrow kind of way. But it was more the existential thing of, like I'm actually okay as I am. This is just who I am. It's different. It's different. And a lot of people are like that, and it's okay to be different. But at the same time, like when I hope I didn't give that to my daughter, there's a part of me that's like, it is cool. Like it is a gift in so many ways, like being able to be fiercely creative and hyper focused on these really interesting things. But also, man, like the task paralysis sucks. Being easily frustrated by things sucks. Being perfectionist sucks. Like there are a few things that just really suck about it. And I would prefer that she didn't have it, I prefer that she's, sort of experienced life without it. But, if so be it, she does, have that, then at least there's some extra
comprehension. There's comprehension.
There's comprehension, understanding from me that I didn't get.
That's right.
So yeah, that's a real, that's why it appears all over the album, because it was quite a transformative moment. Yeah.
Nice. Man, I love that. And then we get to astrology.
Yeah, astrology. Yeah, man. So that track was literally the journey that you see in that track was 100% legitimate. I didn't go into the track being like, hey, I'm going to write it as if I'm not giving up. Then at the very end, I'm being like, no, I'm not giving up. I was like, I'm writing this track as me being like, I'm done because this isn't working. Really? Yeah, it isn't working. Like you can see from the lyrics, I start by reflecting, hey, man, look, I'm basically talking to my band. Hey, wasn't it crazy how we started this whole thing? Like we did all this stuff. And then along the way, I'm like, yeah, but it just didn't work out, I tried. Didn't work, didn't happen. And then throughout the journey of, like that whole thing, like the chorus, I'm like, maybe astrogeology, the field of astrogeology, studying space rocks, that can make me a rock star. I wanted to be a rock star my whole life. Maybe I can be a literal rock star by, so it was kind of that journey of, I'm throwing in the towel, dude. I can't do this. Something happened at the very end. This is why I really encourage people to just process through music and write music and do this, because the song itself is what transformed me. I got to the very end and there was just something about it. And I was like, no, I'm not finished yet. I can't be finished yet. Like I almost considered flagging the song. I was like, there were two options for me. I was like, either I don't release a song or I don't put this ending part in there. This ending and the song can't coexist. It makes no sense because in the ending, I'm saying I'm not giving up and doing this. I'm like, they can't coexist. They're contradictory. But I'm like, maybe that's kind of a beautiful thing to just have that in there.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but that was a legit journey. I was like, I'm giving up. Then at the end, I was like, nah, I'm not giving up. So what about it? Like I'm just getting started. There was something about going through all that to realize, no, I've come way too far to just throw in the towel here. It always can be, like I say, know that I'm one hit away and it could be a KO. Like literally, the next song I put out could be the thing that changes my life. Yeah, the next video that I put up could be the thing that changes my life. The next thing, so why would I? Have you seen that meme or that cartoon that people put up where like people are digging in this tunnel?
Yeah, that's right. And then and one's coming back and he's like right there.
Right there, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, it could be that. It could be that for another 5-10 years. I just won't, but I won't know if I throw in the towel now. What else am I going to do? I already said in other songs, like, yo, Doug, there's nothing else for me. This is what I'm doing.
That's right.
So, that journey that you see in that song is 100% how it happened. Yeah.
Bro, what a song to finish on. That track, again, the contradiction part, I think just puts the rubber stamp on it. And yeah, man, culminates an amazing journey on that on that album. Again, I said it many times, amazing piece of work.
Thank you, bro.
So congratulations on that album. Again, I encourage everybody to go and listen to his album. I think if possible, you know what I used to do? Because when I was a kid, dude, I used to grab, and I didn't speak English, of course, but I used to grab the Eminem album. Remember the full CD thing with the booklet, and go through all the lyrics.
All the lyrics,
Even though I didn't understand them, but I loved doing that when I was a kid, and I did that with this album.
Okay,
I went through the lyrics,
yeah.
and I think it was a great exercise of putting time aside to properly listen to an album.
Yeah.
It was something that I haven't done in years. You know what I mean? Because again, music right now is consuming it's like this. It's like and then you get singles, right?
Yeah.
You get this single, you get this single, you get this single.
Yeah.
And especially with albums that I care about, like the Kendrick albums, for example, is ones that I listen to. I have to sit down for 2 hours and listen to them because people just, they as soon as you come out, start listening to it. And they listen in the car, they listen.
Yeah.
So I like to actually sit down and listen to them.
Yeah.
So this was actually a very good experience in terms of that, in terms of putting time aside to properly analyze music, to really get the concept and the message of the artist.
Okay.
Because I think, again, music became this thing where it's just so easily consumable that is losing a lot of that sort of juice that's given by the artwork, the message, the cohesiveness of an entire everything. It's like a piece of art. So again, encourage you to listen to an album, because I haven't done for years, and this helped me a lot. I was like, man, you should do this more often. Yeah, same as just listening, like you sit down and actually reading a book, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Amazing sort of experiences. Bro, you finished with this track, and it's one of those things where, again, making the decision of, I know you used to be an engineer, you work for Serato, and stuff. Amazing job, amazing company. Like, what the fuck are you doing this music stuff? That the success rate, like you said, is so low, whatever. And I love this part because you said that there's a bar. I think this is on the first track that says, he said engineering is gonna pay you bills. Do the math, right? And this is classic. Yeah. This is a classic thing our parents would say.
Yes.
At least in our cultures, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, and I used to love, all I used to love was like music and football. Those were my two things. And whenever my mom was always sort of, because she thought I was going to be a musician, because I would play every day. She was like, no, you have to go to university. Like, this is not going to pay you bills. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. It's not going to pay your bills. You have to this. And it gets stuck in there. And a lot of musicians, again, they might have this passion, this talent for music, but these responsibilities and the music business and the way that everything works, the industry as a whole is very complex. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you know that.
100%, yeah.
And a lot of people just go, you know what, this is not for me. Like, this is not the right thing. And I feel like a lot of people can find inspiration on your story in terms of making that call, because you had an amazing job. You're an incredibly intelligent guy. You easily be doing a 3-figure salary right now, being a developer, because that's a hot thing to be right now. But you decided to do music. You decided to pursue this thing. Yeah. And I think that's an incredible thing to do. So walk us through your thought process in there, so that we can probably inspire some people to do what they love.
Yeah, man. Well, look, at the end of the day, like there's no price that you can put on actually feeling, I hesitate to say fulfilled, because even doing music, you've got this perpetual thing of like, I'm not quite there yet. But I don't have this anxiety over Mondays, bro. You know what I'm saying? Man, in that, bless Serato, it was a beautiful company, beautiful staff, beautiful people. It was incredible to work there. But it was doing as a 9-to-5 desk job. At the end of the day, that's what it was. I had this anxiety about Monday. Oh man, like Monday's coming around again. I feel like it was Friday 5 minutes ago. Monday's again. I have to do this again. This is not me, man. What am I doing here? What am I doing? So I keep reminding myself, like in those moments where I'm like, oh, maybe this music thing isn't working. In those moments, I'm always like, the existential challenges that I'm facing now pale in comparison to the existential problems I had in a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'd rather keep pursuing this music thing, wondering if it's ever going to go anywhere, die, just have my legacy as it is. I'd rather that than be in a 9-to-5 where I am so unhappy, dude. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're like, and the amount of money, like I'm making more now than I was at that job, which is great. But if I was in that job, still I'd be, my salary would be even more. So like, I do know, like I have sacrificed a check, but like I said, there's no price that I can put on, the fulfillment that I get from, you know, what I do now. Because it is not just music that I do. Like, I do a lot of mentorship. Beyond the online stuff, I'm working in schools. I'm working with youth organizations. I'm going to universities doing guest stuff there. I'm getting to do collaborative songwriting sessions. I'm getting to do voiceover stuff, a bunch of creative things, a bunch of different people I'm interacting with week to week, day to day, you know, and that fills me up. Even though like I like yearn to have like this high life. I yearn for it to turn into this thing where I'm here. Even being here though is beautiful, you know. And in the times where I'm mourning not being here and being here, I still remember like even being here, even if I'm here for the rest of my life, it is so much better than you know where I was for me. So at the start I was like, I'm going to make this rap thing work. Very early on, and I'm thankful for that, I started expanding my the scope of the things that I do. Like I was very quick to, I was always set that I'm going to produce for myself because musically that's where I was. Like I came up being an instrumentalist, so I was always producing for myself. But I was like, okay, I'm going to start producing for other people. You know, you produce, you naturally start engineering for yourself as well. I'm going to start engineering for other people. Okay, cool. You know, you build up your skill set, you build up your gear. All of a sudden, you can start doing more interesting things. You can start working for brands. You can start, you know, teaching people how to set up their own thing, you know, and all these opportunities, all these income opportunities start coming. And then all of a sudden you're like, actually, man, this is working. It might not be working in the way that I had envisioned. It might not be that record deal that, you know, that $1 million record deal that you hope to get as an artist, but it's coming together. Yeah. And all of a sudden my bills are getting paid. My mortgage is being paid. And I haven't been at my 9 to 5 for 10 years, you know, especially in New Zealand. I'll tell you, you do have to think laterally as opposed to vertically. You do have to envision your pathway as being one where a few things are coming together to support you rather than hedging your bets on this one part. Like a T shape. That's usually how you go. So you got a lot of things here instead of going one way down. That's right, yeah. Yeah, man, I love that. I mean, again, I think it's very important what you said because it's one of those things where, like, for me personally, for example, I don't dread Mondays, right? Like, you have to be honest to yourself as well. It's not like all flowers. Like, for example, for me, I gets to Monday, I'm like, fuck, I have this problem to solve on Monday. I'm fucking going in. I love it. Right? I love it. Yeah. Some people just don't enjoy that. They just dread Mondays. And if you dread Mondays, then you should be looking at something else. And I think what you've done, I think, is amazing in terms of opening up opportunities outside of your main thing, right? Yeah, because again, it might be something that you didn't know you enjoy. I don't know how much you enjoy teaching, but I'm pretty sure you probably do because you seems like really natural to you. I saw that some of the lectures that you did comes almost naturally to you, man, be talking to people. So, you know, you never know what you're going to uncover, dude, in terms of your creative journey. That's why I keep saying, like 2-3 years ago, if you said, hey man, like you'd be in universities giving lectures on rap science, I'd be like, first of all, what's rap science? Second of all, what do you mean, like American universities? Like, Harvard, Harvard, dude. Berklee, what? Yeah, that's right. You know, I didn't even think that was a possible. I didn't even think, you know, I didn't even consider it. It wasn't even a thing. Yeah. So that's the crazy thing about this journey. So when people are like, oh, so you're this rap scientist. Like, now I am. What am I going to be next year? I have no idea. The thing that I'm going to be, I probably don't even know exists right now. That's right. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but I think, bro, one thing that you did really well, and I think it's important for every artist that are listening to this, is that you carve your way through all of this. Yeah. You literally were digging at those fucking diamonds, man, because a lot of artists, I've met a lot of artists that they just think that they make the coolest music and then that suddenly a record deal is gonna come. And that's, it could happen, but the percentage of that happening is very small. Yeah. In the other hand, there's people like you who are out there using every available resource possible to make sure their music is heard or that their material is heard. Yeah. And you did an amazing job in terms of the tools that leveraging Instagram. Yeah. Maybe it's not a tool that you use for your personal things, but it's a marketing tool for your music. Yeah. And I think a lot of artists fail on this sort of thing where they see, a lot of kids are on TikTok, like fuck TikTok. It's like, dude, that's a marketing machine at your disposal. And you're ignoring that because you want to cling on to this thing that some executive producer is going to come and give you a record deal. Listen. Like, that's the craziest thing. This is what I've been telling people, dude. Like, the linear path of you quit your job, you become an artist, a record label finds you, and you blow up that way. Yeah. Like you said, can happen, very small. It's a very small chance that a label is going to find you. Even when a label finds you, it's a small chance that it's still going to work. That it's going to succeed, exactly. Yeah, that's right. And here's the thing. if it does work, you know what I'm saying? People have seen that so many times. People have seen there are so many artists doing things. The way I kind of find it's sneaky the way I've gone in there, because like now that like I'm followed by some huge names like Lupe Fiasco, Jacob Collier, Vic Menza, like all these dudes who are legends, right? If I was just an artist, they probably wouldn't pay no attention to me. Not because I'm good, just because they've seen good artists.
That's right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Have they seen someone communicate rap in the way I'm doing it? No. You know what I'm saying? If all I was doing was making good art, would Harvard be like, hey, come and make your good art
That's
here?
right, 100%, dude.
Would Berklee be like, come and make your good art here? No. It's because I'm offering something else that still involves, my art is still a core of that, you know? Like what people don't realize is that when I go and teach at Berklee, I'm performing there as well.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? When I'm going to New York to teach, I'm performing there as well. And so in all these viral videos that people are seeing of me teaching, a lot of those videos are my music. I'm using my music there. So these big names are seeing me and seeing my music. They might not immediately be like, sign him right now, but I'm on their radar. You're not on their radar. You know what I'm saying? You're not on their, you're never going to be on their radar. I'm on their radar because of this route that I took. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So people don't clock onto there, especially in New Zealand. We're at a huge disadvantage, dude.
100.
If you're trying to make it in an American market, you're in such like you don't even understand how much of a disadvantage you're at. Like to get from New Zealand to the Americas or to UK or to anywhere else, even that is a big thing. The second, to cut through that market, dude, where not only are there 350 million people just in the United States alone, they are all going to care about themselves more than they care about you. They don't care about that you're, sure, it's nice that you're from New Zealand, but they don't really care about that like that over there.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? They're always going to prefer their own people. So for me to be able to do this sideways path and all of a sudden be on the radar of these massive names. Sure, I haven't made it yet, but the chances of me ticking over are so much higher now because of this route that I've taken. That's what I'm telling. I'll tell all these young people, yo, dream bigger than, dream wider than just this pathway, dude.
Yeah. Just
you know
the natural, what you see, right? This is, this is my direction. Like, no, man, you gotta look at all the sides. You gotta look at all your tools.
You gotta look at all the sides.
You gotta look at your unique value proposition as well as an artist. And
that's
I said
what I'm
that,
saying. And even when the thing that people don't understand is that when these big artists that pop off with these hit songs, right? The smart ones are immediately thinking of their exit strategy because they know that the industry is fickle. You might just have one song and that might be all it is.
Yeah, that's
right.
And
if you're trapped in that 90-10 deal that these big labels are doing, that one song might make a few $1 million for them. You still come away with barely anything.
That's right.
Then all of a sudden you don't get any more hit songs. Label kicks you off. You're left with nothing. You're left with a hit song that the label owns.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? The smart artists are like, oh, I've got this hit song. In this moment, I've got this name. What am I doing about it? I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start some other thing. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start something else. I'm going to start something else that's going to outlive the fickleness of the music industry. So because I've taken this route of like teaching rap, that's already going to outlive it. Even if
that's right.
It's living, even though I don't have a hit song yet.
Yeah,
you
that's
know
right.
what I'm saying? It's already living. So like I've almost done this thing in reverse, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people
Yeah.
A lot of people find the hit song, then they're like, okay, what else can I do?
What happens then?
I've already done the else.
That's
like
right.
me, I keep talking with my band, like, they were like, yeah, we just need that. That hit song is just the last piece of the puzzle. How much of a blessing is it that it's the last piece of the puzzle for me rather than the start?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what's keeping me going for sure.
Yeah, dude, let me talk to you about this. You talked about the hit song, and that's an interesting thing because for a couple of reasons. One is that when you do get your hit song, and then what? You know what I mean? And I think Ross talked about this as well, and I really connected with what he said about, man, he released like so many songs, one hit. Yeah. But then the perspective of your measurement, for many people, changes once that hit song is there. Yeah. And then the perspective, once you hit that, it's like, okay, so this song is not doing well. And the next one is not doing well. It's like, oh, fuck, I'm done. It's like, nah, man, like you just gotta keep working because it's...
I was literally having a good conversation because I actually pulled up here about an hour earlier. I was in the car, I was having a good conversation with my friend in the UK. And we're talking about this idea like that no matter where you are, dude, no matter what you're achieving, like you're always going to feel like you need to do more.
Yeah, that's right.
And that need, if that need that you feel becomes toxic, then you can't pretend that that toxicity is going to leave when you hit. Like for me, I've always been like, oh man, I just need a song that does a few million streams. Okay, let's say I get that. So what?
So
dude?
what? Yeah, exactly.
So what?
Exactly, dude.
So
exactly.
what? It's not money that's going to satisfy me from that.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure at some point you thought, man, if I only had like 60 million.
If I could only make 50,000, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's when I had to clock it. I'm like, bro, that satisfaction, that fulfillment needs to be internal. You need to decide that you're going to be okay. You have to decide that you're going to be content with where you're at, no matter where you are. Because if you don't decide that toxic need is going to exist. Like I think about Drake, dude. When it comes to hip hop, in terms of commercial success, who is there above that dude? In terms of like the amount of streams he does, his stadium tours, like what he's achieved. Who is there above that dude? Yet he's still self-cannibalized. You can like the self-hatred of Drake oozes out of him. You know, it oozed out of him in that battle with Kendrick. It oozed out of him in the aftermath of it. It oozed out of him in the way he was navigating social media and the kind of thing he'd post, the kind of, you know, him suing and all this kind of stuff. You could be like, man, this dude, he's not, you know, he's not content in himself. And I'm like, if someone who was
like that,
you know what I'm saying? If he still feels that, if he still feels like he's not enough.
That's right.
Why do I think I'm going to feel like enough if I reach 1/100th of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whatever that satisfaction, it needs to come internally, and that's something I have to clock all the time, dude. Like I need to be okay. I need to get to the point where I'm like, actually, right now is exactly where I need to be. I'd like to be further, but I need to be where I am. You know, that is a powerful thought to have, and it's one that I'm trying to absorb and really, you know, take ownership of. But yeah, I'm realizing that more and more as things go, man. There's no external, there's no achievement, there's no thing that can happen to you that's going to satisfy that without you deciding, you know. And
again, like you said, man, there's so many tools out there that you can definitely create for yourself for expanding your career horizontally. Like there's so much out there that you can do. Yeah. And man, I love that. I love that a lot. Shall we drop some bars?
Why not?
Let's go. Here we go. Mazbou Q in the motherfucking house. Top Gun Cypher. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get it. Yeah, look. This Mazbou under melding Muse, the new professor. Don't let you get yourself confused. All this flame out my muzzle, I'm a welding tool. The mind in the grass, Lupe and Sheldon fuse. I'm from where the green and white striped flags are floating, where the cops need a bit of financial motive. Move to Middle Earth where the farmlands are focused. Probably why they looking at me like, damn, he goated. Yeah, it's clear that this music thing ain't new to me. I utter it fluidly. I will take you to class and offer you scrutiny, but I can tell by your raps you got problems with truancy. Anyway, I'm busy accruing leaf to stack my chips. That's a move till I don't gotta be capitalist. Know what the issue with all these other rappers is? They don't put in real labor, they Braxton Hicks. Look, they say I'm unrelatable and I will fail. Just know that hatred itself wear a thin veil. And when you married to the cause, jealousy trails. Heel nigga, I'll be grinding to my skin pale. What's up with the Mazbou? Let's get it.
God damn. I wanted to do something with you. First of all, actually, I'm going to show you some stuff. I want to show you some stuff, man. Because I want to be the first Colombian ever to show Mazbou Q some champeta. Because I want to hear your thoughts on this. One massive Latin artist like J Balvin or one of these guys are going to jump on some of this, and then this is going to blow up.
Ooh.
Bro, that rhythm
it's hard, man.
It's hard. And this, I mean, there's many variations of that rhythm, but And it came out when I was a kid. But when you see them dancing this,
Yeah, unreal.
you see there's many variations of rhythms there,
Yes,
but it comes from so many influences
Yes, yeah.
that these guys in the Caribbean coast of Colombia came up with, and this came from the neighborhoods of Colombia.
True.
And there's so many tracks. I mean, there's many artists, but this rhythm, I'm pretty sure if somebody like a big will jump on a track, will make it, because this is huge. This is huge in South America. This is a rap song.
Por ti, daría lo que fuera por ti. No quiero estar más lejos de...
Before I start, so I want to see if you can pick up the way that the rhymes land.
Okay.
You're not going to understand the words, but I'm pretty sure you're going to pick up in terms of the sounds and how they hit on the bars.
Mi vida no es vida sin ti. Por ti. Extraño tocarte y siento que le he podido olvidarte. Clavaste en mi pensamiento. Todavía en las noches extraño tocarte y siento un presentimiento. Tomaré hasta que salga el sol para ir a buscarte y luego del arrepentimiento. Tomaré mis maletas, volaré lejos, mi rostro cansado y no se ve contento. Todo el día tomándote.
So you see that how they basically every word that ended the last set of bars is the end is the end of the next line.
Yeah. I picked that one. That's really dope. That's really dope.
Super dope. I've never heard, like, this is one of the tracks that I'm like, whoa, this is really cool, the way that they like that. And it's one of those things that is very catchy because you know what the net, you anticipate what he's gonna say. Yeah.
Actually, one of the big things, because I do a lot of like I say, mentoring, and a lot of that involves like songwriting and structuring and stuff like that, and getting people to understand music. So one of the big things about music is creating expectation in the list, like creating expectation.
Yes,
you create expectation by repeating, and then you find moments to subvert it. Like you know, and the moments where you subvert the expectation, where you deviate away from it, those are like intentional, specific moments, and that's what creates the interest and the drive to want to keep listening. But you need to create that expectation first. Like what a lot of like people who start off rapping, they kind of just do, like the rhythms are all over the place. One line is different to another line, was different to another. And they think they should do that because variance is cool. Variance is only cool if you've set up expectation.
Right, that's a very
good
point.
What I'm saying? Yeah. So it's about finding really interesting ways to create symmetries in like in what way can we make this line similar to this line, or this line similar to this line? What symmetries can we create? And I think it's an interesting puzzle, I guess, in a way. And it exists at the rhythm level. It exists at the rhyme level.
Right.
It exists and when it comes to the instruments, the kicks, the snares, or it's a game of symmetry. Like, what kind of symmetry can we create, and then when can we deviate away from that? You know,
right?
So like hearing that was cool. That was a cool symmetry. It was
yeah. And then, like I was saying, you see that you can hear our hip hop, the hip hop that I'm listening to from South America. You can hear all these ranchera. You can hear all these sort of rhythms coming. That's the type of rap that I listen to a lot.
Yeah.
All right, I have a quick fire. I want to do this exercise with you if you're okay with it. And they do this a lot in like social media and stuff.
Yeah, all right, cool.
And it's basically, I'll just tell you the names of two artists. But I wanted to do it to New Zealand first. So
okay.
There's several artists that I have here. I got some artists here because I listen to a lot of local music as well. Yeah. So Mareko or Chefu?
Oh, Chefu, man. Like
Chefu, okay.
It's gonna be Chefu.
All right, Chefu or King Kapisi?
Chefu.
All right, Chefu or Scribe?
In terms of songs that have spoke to me, it's still Chefu, dude. Yeah.
Chefu, yeah. Okay, Chefu or Savage?
Chefu still.
All right. Chefu or David Dallas?
Chefu.
Oh, Chefu or Decepticons?
Chefu.
Chefu or PNC?
Oh, still Chefu, man.
All right. Chefu or Melodance?
Oh, man. I don't like this.
Because Melo's your friend, right?
Yeah, he's my. Oh man. Oh yeah. Oh, damn. In terms of it, I mean, I'm gonna think of it this way. What would he pick? It got to be Chefu. Sorry, Melo, you're the man, man. Like, in terms of music of my youth, man. Come on.
Chefu or Jess B?
Oh man, this sucks. It's the same thing though, Chefu.
All right, Chefu or Lady Six?
Chefu still.
Chefu or Kings?
Oh man, Kings is cool, but no, it's got to be Chefu. Yeah.
All right, Chefu or Young Said?
Oh yeah, definitely Chefu.
Chefu or Tom Scott?
Chefu.
Oh wow, Chefu or Sweet It?
Shefu.
Shefu or Mazbou Q?
In terms of who's done in terms of who's done the music that speaks to me, it's got to be Maz Q, man. No, but it was a problem putting Shefu that early because man, I would never take away from you.
Bro, Chef was the man. Chef was the man. Also, his performance, like when seeing him live, he's outstanding as well.
Yeah, no.
Oh, there you go. So we got a winner. Shefu is the man.
Yeah.
All right. I had another one with another.
Let's do it.
Okay, Eminem or Immortal Technique.
Man. You put Eminem at the.
He was definitely intentions, bro. Eminem or Biggie Smalls. Eminem or Tupac. Eminem or Lil Wayne. Eminem or Rakim.
Whoa. In terms of who influenced me, it's still Eminem, yeah.
All right. Eminem or Schoolboy Q. Eminem or Mos Def. Mos Def or Talib Kweli. Mos Def or Remy Ma. Mos Def or Jay-Z. Mos Def or Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, Kendrick
Lamar or J. Cole. Ooh, this one.
Still Kendrick, bro.
All right. Kendrick or Tech 9.
Ooh, still Kendrick.
Kendrick or Royce the 5'9".
Oh, okay. You know what? Royce the 5'9".
Oh,
you remember Royce the 5'9"? Yeah.
Okay.
Royce the 5'9".
All right, Royce the 5'9" or Cypress Hill.
Royce the 5'9".
Right, this one's gonna be hard. If it was me, this is hard. Royce the 5'9" or Nas.
It's still Royce the 5'9".
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's still Royce the 5'9".
Royce the 5'9" or Lauryn Hill.
Still Royce the 5'9".
Royce the 5'9" or Lupe Fiasco.
Oh my god.
I put it there in purpose.
Oh man, yeah. Can I plead the fifth on this one? It's still, especially because they've had beef, man. Again, in terms of who has influenced me, it's still Royce. Now that list is really interesting because I feel like if it was ordered differently, it's kind of like, like when you have leagues and tournaments, you're like, is that person the true winner? Because if
that team was over there.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably like that, man. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
All right, so he's called Royce?
Royce, yeah.
Okay,
Royce,
so Royce the winner. Wow, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
So if you were to pick from here, if I tell you who's your favorite rapper that influenced you the most, that give you the most tools that you admire, like holistically across the board, who do you think it will be then?
Like, so the one that probably, okay, I'd say this. I probably wouldn't have taken my career wouldn't have come into being as it is if not for Eminem.
Right, okay.
But in terms of who has shaped where I've tried to go tonally, where I've tried to go in terms of how I construct flows and construct rap and all that kind of stuff, Royce eclipses him.
Okay.
But in terms of who like I currently admire, that's a hard one, man.
It's a hard one. I know it is hard. But I mean Eminem, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, just so it goes on record, it's absolutely it's important. It's not a reflection of who I think is the best.
The best, yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I even think that the best is an annoying category. Like every time someone's like, "Oh, you're top 5 MCs," I'm like, this isn't a useful discussion. Like I understand why some people do it because it's fun. Like who's the best of this, I honestly don't think it's a.
Yeah,
useful,
I agree. If you were to ask me that question I did to you, I'll be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I can't really pick. Same happens with like, man, when they ask me like, who's your favorite rapper?
Yeah,
bro, I like this guy right here, Cancerbero.
Yeah,
is crazy for me. But then I look at Eminem as well. It's like, damn, I can't choose. Like, there's so many things that I get from this guy this way.
What gets me is like when people argue over this stuff. I'm like, look, there's two ways of thinking about it. There's objective, right? There are objective metrics and there are subjective metrics.
Yeah, that's right.
Objective metrics, who has sold more, who has done the fastest, who has done the most rhyme dense, who has done. They're not they don't speak to like the quality of the music.
That's right.
They're objective because the music is art. But if you want to talk about objectively who's done more, it's easy. You can just look up this data. It's a data thing.
It's a data thing. So you look at records sold, tickets sold, whatever.
Tickets sold, most albums, most who's won the most awards. You can just look that up and just be like, that person's the best. No point in arguing, right? When it comes to subjective, why are you arguing? It's like arguing like, who's your favorite? What's the best ice cream flavor?
But even when you're objective, like I find this with football because I'm a big football fan, and people are like, who's better, Ronaldo or Messi, right? It's like even that is very complicated
Of course,
because
yeah.
even if you look at accomplishments, you have to then weight each accomplishment.
Well, that's the thing. So the challenge is first, when you say who's better, people leap into arguing under the assumption that we know what is meant by the question.
Right. That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? We don't.
What is it better? Like,
We have to
tickets sold, like
Exactly.
concerts sold,
We
or
have
is it
to-
streams? Like,
Exactly. We first have to argue to figure out
What is the metric?
What better means.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. It was fun though, like
Yeah,
doing this
man,
exercise. But I 100% agree with you. It does not mean that they're
Yeah.
the best. Man, it was fun having you here with us. I got a couple more things to ask
Yeah.
you because beyond the beat stuff you're doing,
Yeah.
dope,
Yeah. So,
super dope.
super fun project, man. So for those who are unaware, like I was working in conjunction with 4 rising stars of the Aotearoa music industry, and we were like reimagining the tunes of some more established artists, and I was helping them in terms of production, in terms of like facilitating like how to think outside the box and create a really interesting way of communicating this music. And it was cool. Like we filmed it in studio and Parachute Studios. And then we revealed the songs to the artists live on radio, and then
That's
they
pretty
heard
cool.
it. Yeah, man. And the crazy twist of the whole series was I was one of the artists who had their song remade, which was amazing. And you know what was crazy? Like, so I ended up crying on air, which is crazy, because like the number of times I've cried in the last 10 years, like count on one hand. But it was when I saw Mellow Downs have his song released to him and revealed to him, and he was kind of like not really animated at all, and he's kind of really like somber with it. And then afterwards he says, "Oh man, that was really buzzy." And I asked him like, "What was it like?" He was like, "Oh man, I don't know, it was like real emotional." I was like, "Bro, this guy's being melodramatic. No wonder you call him Melodance." But then when it happened to me, I understood exactly what he went through in that moment, because I was like, there's something so precious and so like I don't know, like sacred about having this song that you put a lot of thought and a lot of weight into making, having someone else who held it delicately and held it with honor, and then put their own heart on it. And it's like hearing your song again in a completely new light here with all this new emotion, but the same emotion. And that I can understand why Mello reacted how he did. And like, there's no reaction. I broke down because I'm like, man, like it showed me how disconnected I'd become from the song over time. You know, when I wrote the song, obviously it was a big thing for me, but it being 2 or 3 years old and me performing it in so many other contexts, like I've just forgotten the heart of the song. So hearing that remix, I was like, oh man, that's where that song came from. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine how that would be like to just have that baby literally taken by somebody as an infant, almost like, there you go.
Yeah, bro.
You can remold this
Yep.
however you feel. That's crazy, man. I had a couple more things that I wanted to get out of you.
Yeah.
There were 2 things I really wanted to get out of you.
Yeah.
The first one was you play with a live band.
Yeah, man.
Which I find fucking awesome.
Thank you.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And you can feel that I don't know if the drummer's a metal drummer
He is.
or what it
Yeah.
is.
He is, yeah.
But I love the energy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've been to many K-pop concerts, of course, metal concerts, I go all the time.
Yeah.
But it's always one of those things I tell my non-metal friends. I'm like, dude, you gotta experience a metal concert energy once in your life.
Yeah.
Because it's something that's quite unique. But apart from that, what I wanted to ask you was, playing with a live band brings a lot of different variables in terms of bringing a song that people are listening into the set of a live band.
Yeah.
Walk me through the process of, do you actually think of that when you putting the song together, or do you let that be and then reimagine them?
Sometimes.
Okay.
There are some songs I'm like, okay, what would this live arrangement be like? Let's try and recreate a bit of that. Yeah. There are other songs I'm like, I don't care. I'm not thinking about it now. I'm just making it. So when it comes to performing such a song live, then I have to start thinking about it. And both styles are really interesting, you know, like, on the one hand, the live arrangement, sometimes you get a song that sounds quite close to the studio thing with just a bit more live energy. In other instances, you get a song that sounds almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Just because, I have to try, like, I didn't write it with guitar or keys in mind, so how are we going to interpret that? Like I do have track in all my songs, just especially to carry the bass and the 808 in there.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the interpretation of in the instruments, sometimes it can be wildly different. I like that though.
I like that too. Yeah.
It's an exercise in arrangement again.
If you go to for example, I went to a Lauryn Hill concert.
Yeah.
If you listen to her songs live, dude, it's an entire different thing. It's like it's different rearrangement in terms of she's got so many musicians on stage, so many
Yeah.
people doing chorus.
Yeah, man.
It's just a different experience altogether.
Yeah.
Was there a track that you sort of remolded entirely different for the live audience?
Polymers is quite different. Yeah,
Right.
Polymers, it had to be quite different. Trying to think of, there's another one off the top of my head that's ended up being very different. There are a few. On average, they're similar-ish, but a couple just had to be pulled right out and just built from scratch.
Built from scratch,
Scratch, yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, in terms of the refinement of tracks, right? I talked to musicians about this. For example, our creative process in terms of writing tracks was playing them live, right? We basically would just make them in the...
Write them
it wasn't-
for live,
we record them like at the end, right?
Yes, yeah, it was an obstacle. Yeah.
But for you, being a producer, you obviously light a lot of this stuff first.
Yes.
What is the process of refining the track? Like, walk me through. Do you come into the studio, light a beat down, exit the room, come back later? Because I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah. So I get the beat to like 60%. I get like a 4 or 8 bar loop. That's writable, you know, and then I'll bounce down like 5 minutes of this 8 bar loop. And then, because I walk every morning, every evening, that's where I'm like writing my lyrics and writing my top line.
I see.
Yeah, on my walks and stuff. And then I come down and then I'll track like a demo of the lyrics, a demo of the vocal. And then I'll be like, okay, so now what does the beat kind of have to do to accommodate some of this vocal stuff? Or what did I write on my walk that I thought was fire, but then I lay it down, I'm like, this is not it at all. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then I'll make some adjustments. I might then go and rewrite some stuff, or I might come back. I actually don't do a lot of writing in the room.
Interesting.
I don't have the beat playing in the room and I'm writing. I don't really do a lot of that. I'm more like I take it in my headphones and I walk somewhere, which has its pros and cons. Sometimes what happens is that I think I've got it and then I come into the studio and then I'm recording it and then it's like 90%. And then I'm like, if there's a line that sounded better in my head, I track it doesn't work. So then I'll just freestyle that last line. But mostly I'm writing lyrics separately. And so the beat goes from 60% in that process. Once I've recorded the vocal, then I start making changes to the beat. I'm like, actually the beat needs more energy here. Actually this section needs to change to accommodate this, you know?
I see.
Yeah, so it's like, and then sometimes the vocals might need to be redone. So it's like
It's a very diverse process.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Awesome, dude. Last thing I wanted to ask you is, you did some changes in your life in terms of health and well-being.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking really good.
Thank you, brother.
I see you hitting the gym as well.
Yeah,
You're getting,
man.
jacked.
Yeah.
Walk me through that, because I think it's important, man, to as a creative, having your body in optimal condition is incredibly important.
Yeah. Oh, man. Look, so things can just get away with you, bro, especially like when you get into married life and fatherhood and stuff. There's just a lot of things that take the back seat, especially when you're an entrepreneur and, like I said, that song Cloning, so many things. And then it's easy to just lose track of what's happening in the nutrition and the gym life and stuff like that. And for me, I've had chronic lower back problems ever since I did powerlifting about 10 years ago. Yeah. So the combination of powerlifting with a desk job is very dangerous because you're sitting down all day. Your posterior chain is not activated. You go into the gym, you start squatting these heavy weights.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, so your back is doing work that your glutes are supposed to do, you know. So because of that kind of thing, I developed this like chronic lower back thing. So I got into this really problematic sort of cycle where I was getting heavier, and because my body weight was getting bigger, there was more pressure on that lower back that was now just inflamed all the time. And because of that, I couldn't do much exercise. I couldn't really walk. You know, so, and then that was depressing. So I'd eat more. And, you know, so things started spiraling, and it happens so gradually, you know, you don't. And one day, this is what I tell people. A lot of people are like, bro, drop the diet plan, drop the exercise plan. I'm like, bro, there's no fix it like that. Like whatever happens needs to happen. There's something that needs to happen in here. Like I tell people, you know what to do. They're like, drop the diet plan. You know what to do. You know how to eat well.
Exactly.
You know how to move. You don't need me to tell you what to do. What you want is there to be something that you don't really have to apply yourself to. Right? But at the end of the day, you're going to have to apply yourself. So what's the motivation for applying yourself? Well, just there needs to be a need. You know, this is why I love, like, you can tell the millennial dudes, like, because I'm like, this is such a Dragon Ball Z moment for me when Goku was like, you can't force yourself. It has to be a response to a need. You know what I'm saying? When I was talking about going Super Saiyan, I was like, that's it. Like, there just came a time in my life where I'm like, this sucks. My life sucks. Like, I can't run around with my daughter. Like, my clothes are not fitting anymore. Like, I look terrible every time I see myself on camera. Like, this sucks. Like, if I'm going to move forward with my life, I need to change. It's not even like I want to be lean now. It's like, I need I need to change my life, dude. So something happened and I didn't follow any diet plan. That's what people like. I'm telling people, bro, there's no diet plan I can give you. I didn't follow a plan. I was like, I need to eat more vegetables with every meal. I always knew
Everybody knows that, yeah.
Everyone knows that, dude. That's all I did. I'm just like, okay, stop it. I'm not going to eat more vegetables with every meal. What that did meant that, okay, since half my plate was vegetables, now less than what used to be is now all this other stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then in about 2 to 3 weeks, I dropped about 4 or 5 kilos. The pressure started easing off my back. I was able to walk. Then now I start walking every day. Right. Now the weight's starting to really go. Now the weight's coming down, I can start running. I can start doing sports. I can start, I'm feeling good. I'm eating even better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I knew all this stuff, but something had to happen here. So I tell people, I'm like, every time they're like, yo, drop the diet plan, I'm like, don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. You need to figure out why you need to do this. Essentially, this is the ADHD brain happening right now, but this is the same as learning a language. So I've got this issue where I don't speak my mother tongue and I hate it. I hate the fact that I don't. And every time I've thought about learning a language or I've always been like, oh, I've tried a little bit and then I get, something happens and I can't speak. I just fall off. And I was always Googling like, how do I learn a language? And there was one thing that stuck to me. Someone was like, you have to need it. The people who learn the language, they need to learn it. They move to another country.
That's why they move to another country.
They have no option but to speak that language.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they don't speak the language, they don't survive. They get with someone, they have to communicate. If they don't communicate, they can't have a relationship. They have to do it. The need has to be there.
The need has to be there. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how they break through. So I'm like, I realized that, okay, the language thing, there will come a time in my life where it will be that. And when that time happens, I'll step into it in that way. But I'm giving myself grace in that area because I realized that when it came to the weight thing, that was the same. Like for so long, I was like, I want to look a certain way. I want to fit this. I want. But when it transformed from want to need, boom, boom. And I've never looked back, bro.
Amazing, dude. Yes, 100% agree with you. I had the same. Lost 20 kilos. People were like,
amazing.
Give me the diet plan. I was like, dude, I give you a diet plan, you're going to fail off immediately. Like, if I tell you, dude, so eating pizza, they're like, well, what, pizza? No, man. Or whatever. If I tell you this, I 100% agree with you. Dude, to finish off, I usually do this with all my guests.
Yeah.
It's called the soundboard.
Cool.
What you got right there in front of you is a bunch of buttons. Pick whatever you feel like, and it's a question behind there. Some of them are funny, some of them are...
What's one belief you had 10 years ago that you no longer hold true today?
Ooh, one belief that I had 10 years ago that I no longer hold true today. I had already started. Yeah, okay. It's around the whole where my life would go and what being a musician would look like and how the trajectory of being an artist would look like. Yeah, I thought it would look a certain way. I thought it had to look a certain way.
Yeah, what we talked about basically.
If it didn't look that way, I failed.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Failure if I don't look that way. I obviously no longer believe that. Like, yeah.
Dude, actually, let me ask you this. Do you know about this guy called Eladio Carrion? That guy is like a rapper from South America.
Okay.
But his story is phenomenal.
Amazing. Yeah.
Because he essentially started being like a funniest comedian on kids shows and shit.
Oh yeah.
And then he started making like parody raps. He started making parody like parody and stuff or whatever. And he used to be quite goofy and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, if you hear his music right now and his shit, and he's like super killing it right now.
Damn. Yeah.
But that's exactly what he's saying. It's like sometimes what you feel is gonna take you, like this is not gonna be the path. It's like, man, you don't have those expectations. You never know where life is gonna take you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And the whole creating your own path thing, like I didn't actually realize, I never actually took seriously that notion before. Everyone was like, you got to make your own path. So what I thought that meant was I'd look at someone who had an interesting path and be like, oh, yeah, that's my path.
Okay, I see.
Like I'd look at someone who might have some similarity to me and be like, oh, yeah, I should do that. It was like, no, literally creating your own path is actually doing something that will look different.
Yeah. And anchoring that to what? To like who you are?
Yeah.
Potentially to mold the path that you take, right?
Yeah, just being. So one thing I tell people, everyone's like, bro, what do you want to be doing in 5 years? I don't know. Everyone's like, oh, you need to have a 5-year, 10-year plan. I don't have a plan, dude. Right. Like, because where I am now is not a result of any 5-year plan. You know what I'm saying? It's not a result, because if I had like every time I've been like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing, right? I'm closed off to all these other avenues, right? Because I'm like, that doesn't lead me there. Imagine if like Harvard reached out to me, yo, come speak here, and me being like, nah, I'm not a rap teacher.
Yeah.
What? Like, why on earth would I ever do that? You know what I'm saying?
That's right,
like being able to pivot. So yeah, I don't have a plan. I know what I like doing. I know what kind of lifestyle I want to have. I know the kind of things I value. I'm just going to operate according to those things. You know what I'm saying? And whatever happens as a result of them happens.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love that, bro. Let's do one more just to finish off.
Yeah, all right.
If you could master any skill instantly, what would it be?
That is the worst question to ask to someone who's just talked about doing everything.
Exactly.
Okay, it would be learning languages.
Bro, you know what? Dude,
yeah.
you know what? I that question came on when I did a podcast with Seymour. You know Seymour the DJ?
Yeah.
And he said exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
He's
dude.
like, I want to speak to the Omari instantly.
Yeah,
That's what I want to do.
Bro, yeah. Like, I've always imagined like being a legit polyglot would just be a superpower, dude. I wouldn't even care. I'd probably give up everything else. You know, I wouldn't even do music. I just walk around talking to people. Like, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. Imagine what one thing that happens to me when I write rhymes is that because I speak two languages, I usually rhyme with the both.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have so many more
Bro, can you imagine?
things disposed at your arsenal than
Could
things
you
that
imagine?
So
Oh,
I can
man.
only imagine you speaking multiple languages.
Dude, yeah. If I could speak like, man, yeah, it would be crazy.
Bro, you'll be crazy speaking French. Have you listened to my French rap?
I have listened to French. I do like the sound of it. It sounds
love
It's
French
interesting. I don't like. Sorry to all my French fans. I don't like what French sounds like when you speak it, but I love it when it's in music. For some reason, in music it sounds beautiful.
Bro, I listened to a song. I'm playing a song for you. I was in France, in the south of France, last year, and we were like going up to this castle or whatever, and there was a guy outside selling like fresh lavender outside.
Yeah.
And he had a track on. He's just listening to it. And I was like, bro, what is this? Let me just play it for you.
Yeah, play it.
Just to finish it off.
Yeah.
Listen to this shit. This is hard. And there's like,
hard.
I don't even know who these artists are, but
Yeah.
there's a bunch of them. And this track, I listen to it all the time. I don't
it's
even
so
know what
good,
they're
man.
saying, but it's so dope.
It's fire.
It's fire. Hey, Mazbou, thank you very much for coming through, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
That was a fun conversation. I enjoyed that a lot. Encourage everybody to go and listen to Rap Science and follow you. I didn't want to talk to you about the whole, you path into Harvard, all that, because I know you talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, man, like just go on. There's so much content out there about your story. It's incredible. You've been to many universities. You are a professor now, mentoring or whatever. If you are an artist and you want to step up your game, also hit up Mazbou Q. You do a lot of mentoring and
online
stuff.
Yeah. Online teaching,
Yeah.
online
And just to
thing.
finish off, what's next for you? What's coming up?
Yeah, look, I've got. I'm still working on new music. That's never going to stop. Working on new content. Getting ready for summer festival season. I want to do a lot more live performing. I feel like being in the studio with the album stuff. It's been great, but I'm ready to really hit the stage. So I'll be doing some more.
Nice.
Of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There you go. Dude, thank you very much for your time, for all of you who listened to us for all this time, staying with us. Thank you very much. Remember to drink water and exercise, and ciao.
Welcome to the next level.
Thank you for watching this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, I'll leave you another episode here. And if you'd like to support us, visit themeldingmuse.com. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.